Hello, folks, and welcome back to another stream. This is hopefully going to be the third and final part of my long, ongoing ranking of all 58 movies I saw in 2025. As you well know, those of you that watched the last part of the stream, someone's annoying me in the background. I need to shut it up. It's doing my head in. Anyway, as I say, for those of you that have been following along, you know that we got to number 25 last time, so we're essentially more than halfway through the list now. I'm going to try and do a bit of a speed run for this one, at least until we get to the top 15, 10, because I'm hopefully wanting to bring it together tonight. But yeah, other than that, I hope you're all doing well. Let's wait for some people to filter in and such. Yeah, it's been a pretty good day for me today. I did a couple of hours at work and some other bits and bobs. Ready to go here. I've got some plans going for some videos for the channel coming soon, which will be good. So look forward to those. Obviously today was the Oscar nominations, so it all looks really good. Obviously one battle after another got a lot of nods. Leo got a lot of nods. Leo obviously got his Oscar nom again. Michael B. Jordan for Sinners. Sinners is apparently the most nominated film in Oscars history, which is like crazy because I genuinely didn't think Sinners was going to do that well, considering it came out literally, what was it, like April, May last year, literally just after last year's Oscars. But I don't think it's going to sweep. I think One Battle and Hamnet and things like that are going to do a little bit better. But yeah, that was that. And then another thing for yourselves as well, we've just had a huge rollout of 3 pretty big trailers. So from least to most interesting, we'll start with the Maul trailer. Maul Shadow... Is it Maul Shadow Lord or something like that? Star Wars Maul Shadow Lord. So yeah, another like Clone Wars animated type of series. This time with Maul at the head. Trailer was pretty good. I don't want to speak too much on it because I might be making a video on it quite soon. But really enjoyed what it's going for. I love that we got Whitwer back, and I'm loving the kind of vibe it's setting with him being hunted down by a ragtag group of guys and what have you. Then in second, Invincible. Yeah, you're back. Invincible, season 4. Really interesting trailer. We got a lot of like most of these 3 are all teaser trailers, so they're all just like giving you the vibe. They're not really giving you any story stuff just yet. But we knew Thrag was going to come eventually, and that was obviously what they teased at the end. And Nolan teaming up with Mark again and Alan to go and fight the Viltrumites and stuff, and some other stuff there with like obviously Shapesmith, Monster Girl, and stuff like that. Mark's still in a pretty bad place after the fight with Conquest and the Invincible War and all that. So that was kind of interesting. And then obviously finally, and most interesting for me is Masters of the Universe. I've been looking forward to this trailer for a little while. I'm a big He-Man fan. I didn't watch the 80s series, I'm not going to lie, but I did watch the rebooted series when I was a kid. I really got into He-Man, and then obviously I know a lot of people in the Motu / He-Man fan base aren't big fans of Kevin Smith's Masters of the Universe Revelation and Revolutions and all the other ones that they were Revelation and I can't remember what the other one was, but the most recent series they did I actually really rather enjoyed. So getting this, I think your man from who's British, whose name I forget, who's playing Adam, I think he'll do really well. I'm gonna look it up. He was in Cinderella as well. He's known. Nicholas Galitzine. I think he'll be great. I obviously think Camilla Mendes as Teela will be awesome as well. Idris Elba as Man at Arms, and obviously we've got a little look at Evil Lynn and Grayskull, and Jared Leto's playing Skeletor. So that's either going to be hit or miss for a lot of people. But I really like the trailers. I'm not going to lie. All three of them were pretty good. Most intrigued in Motu because being more of a film guy and TV show guy. I've been waiting for a good Motu film for ages. I don't really like that they're doing the Earth stuff, but I also do think the stuff on Eternia later on when we get to Grayskull and all that will be good. And if this film does really well, we could end up having like a She-Ra movie, Hordak, the rest of it. So I'm really looking forward to it. But yeah, so yeah, it's just a bit of like film kind of stuff going on at the minute. I was just seeing what was talking a little bit about what's happening today and what have you while I wait for people to filter in. But yeah, no, it's been a good day for film, been a good day for me. Without further ado, let's get into it. It might be a good idea if I change the scene over, wouldn't it? So here we are, back where we were before. As a side note, I'm also thinking about doing this as a more condensed version on my channel as a video, because obviously we've done a lot of talking over the whole thing. It's going to be like nearly 6, maybe 7 to 8 hours long. So I don't expect everybody to sit through that. This was just basically for you guys to kind of like get my full thoughts and stuff. And this will stay up on my channel in case anybody wants to watch it. But I'm thinking about maybe doing a 20 to 30 minute kind of smaller breakdown of my thoughts on each film. Maybe even doing like a 5-word sum up for each film. I don't know. I'm throwing ideas about, but it's something that I'm into. Anyway, so let's move on to 24. So 24 is a real pain. So this is a film that came out early last year. It was an Oscar contender, won Kieran Culkin, his Best Actor win for this film as well, and Macaulay Culkin's brother. I also think it won. Was it original screenplay? I think it won at the Academy Awards. Just double checking. Was it? No, it didn't win any of the screenplay awards. But yeah, so his performance is fantastic. I think Eisenberg's just as good in this. For those of you who don't know what it is, essentially two cousins, Eisenberg and Jesse Eisenberg and Kieran Culkin, the Kaplans, Benji and David Culkin and Eisenberg respectively. I was trying to make sure I got them in the right way around. Their grandma dies. They're both Jewish, and they want to mourn the grandma by going on a trip to Poland and going through essentially go on a Jewish heritage tour, like go to some of the camps, for want of a better word, and look about Jewish history in Poland and things like that, just to honour their grandma. But as it goes on, their kind of like tension starts to fray, and it becomes more of like a. You can see why it got nominated for an Oscar, why it got nominated for Best Picture. It's the type of film that the Academy loves. It's got some dramatic moments. It's got some people that have monologues. It has a really straightforward story, some interesting themes. But yeah, overall, it's a film that I did really enjoy. This is yet another one that I've only seen once, that I really would like to see again. I do own on Blu-ray. That I genuinely really enjoyed back in February. I think when it came out, because I was on my like Oscar Academy Awards binge back then. But yeah, essentially the two of them turn up in Poland. They join a tour group, and they follow this tour group throughout the thingy, and then towards the end of the film they have a bit of a fray-in, and Benji is a free spirit. He's chilled out, he doesn't really care, whereas Jesse Eisenberg's character, who's a little bit less memorable by the fact that I've called him Jesse Eisenberg's character, David, is a lot more uptight. He's scheduled, he's got his life together, he runs a big business. he's married with a partner and a kid on the way, and he's doing this because he wants to honour his granny, essentially. But he really wants to be back where he is. He's doing this to kind of like get out of his comfort zone because his wife essentially pushed him to do it, from what I remember. He obviously wanted to meet back up with Benji, and Benji's the opposite. But then you start to realise that Benji has a little bit of envy for David because he kind of has his life together, and David has a little bit of envy for Benji because he just gets to like chill out. This is where like they make a really good odd couple, because one's uptight, one's loose. One envies the uptight one, and the uptight one envies the loose one because like lack of responsibility and things like that. And they make a really good pairing. But you get into a little bit more of like, especially with Benji, why he's as free spirited as he is, and why he's as chilled back, and why you don't see as much of his life outside of this. Like, this is his thing. This is what he's been needing to do for ages. And he suffers with a lot of like mental health issues and stuff. But yeah, no, overall, like, there's some funny moments. Will Sharp, who plays the tour guide, they have some funny moments together, and Benji's like trying to essentially like challenge him as the group, and they bond together really well. Like, the rest of the tour guide group is the people that they start to bond with. Jennifer Grey's in it from Dirty Dancing, I want to say. I'm sure it's Dirty Dancing. Yeah, she's in it as one of the couple. She's a recently divorced woman. I was going to say one of the couples, but it's the other couple that I'm mixing up with. But yeah, they all have like interactions with each other. There's some really nice moments. There's a moment towards the end where the two of them are on a rooftop. David and Benji are on a rooftop together, and they're having a chat. And just the monologue that Kieran Culkin comes out with is essentially what won him the Oscar. That and some of the other scenes, like on the train and whatever, are really, really good. I really enjoyed this film. It's nothing. I wouldn't say it's not memorable, but what I would say is it's pretty straightforward. The script is very. The dialogue feels like something that real people would say. Doesn't feel like some guys thought, "Oh, I'll put a cool line in here" or whatever. They actually thought about it, which I like. Yeah, some of the direction's really good. Some really nice shots, but I would say on a whole, this is like a slightly above average film, if that makes sense. I don't know really how to put that better than I have. But yeah, I really enjoyed it for what it was. I'd love to see it again. I do want to see it again sooner rather than later. Yeah, let's move on to number 23. So 23, hopefully I haven't spoiled too much there. What number 2 is The Accountant 2. So this is another 8.5 out of 10. I should have talked about that with real pain. That was 8.5 out of 10 as well. So I am a big fan of The First Accountant. Obviously directed by Gavin Hood, I want to say, but Affleck kind of has his hands all over it. About this guy who's autistic, and he's an accountant essentially. He goes in and like looks over people's books and stuff, but behind the scenes he's also able to handle himself. So he grew up with his dad. His dad didn't take any. His dad was essentially more brutal to him because he's autistic, to kind of like toughen him up for the world. Which I not nice, but you can kind of see they kind of explain it better. But essentially, Wolf, who's Ben Affleck's character, I think it's Wolf, and his brother. Try and remember his name off the top of my head now. Christian Wolf, that's his name, and then his brother is Braxton, played by John Bernthal. So the first one in the series is a lot more straightforward. He goes in, he's called in to a company to sort out their books. He sorts out their books, realises there's a financial inconsistency. Because he finds that out, the head of the company essentially wants him bumped off. The head of the company doesn't realise that the guy he's trying to bump off actually can handle himself, knows Krav Maga, has done assassinations before, has done stuff that he's needed to when he's dealt with his other clients and what have you. He takes his clients over the phone from a woman that calls him Dreamboat, if you've seen the trailer. And he essentially just takes his orders from that. He lives his life. And then there's more to it than that. There's J.K. Simmons' character, who's a cop that had a run-in with Christian when he was younger, and has been trying to track him down and thank him for something. And then you also have Braxton, which, spoiler from the first film, they didn't really tell you that he's his brother until right at the end. But they play it very seriously. It's a very serious movie. The finances are integral. It is very, for want of a better word, like a Zack Snyder film. It takes its content very seriously. It takes its characters very seriously. They have edges. They have thingy. I would say the dialogue doesn't always work, and I don't know if Ben Affleck's portrayal of an autistic person is necessarily realistic, but for what it is, and there's a different vibe on the genre, on an action thriller genre, I really enjoyed the first one. So moving on to the second one is a lot more of a straightforward buddy cop action film between these two. So essentially, J.K. Simmons' character from the first film, the copper, who was tracking down Christian, who was kind of on his side, works for FinCEN, which is like a financial investigation network. His character, Raymond King, is the head of the Treasury's department, FinCEN, and under him is Mary Beth Medina, who he tasked with finding out who the actual accountant is in the first film. He, at the beginning of this, is tracking somebody down that he's trying to help, and while he's at the bar, somebody else sends goons in after him, and the woman he's talking to, played by I can't remember her name, but she's from Jurassic World Dominion, Daniela Pineda. I knew it was Pineda. He goes in to speak to this Pineda about something. They don't really tell you what it is, but you find out later in the film. And some goons are sent in after him, and Ace, who's Daniel Pineda's character. And that happens. Raymond gets shot and killed, and so Mary Beth, upset because her boss has been murdered, reaches out to Christian to solve his murder, and then that happens, and then they find out slightly later on that they also need Braxton. Braxton gets a really cool introduction shot where like he's talking to this woman, like sipping on a drink and stuff, and like she's sat there like all scared, and makeup's right and everything, and it's like, what are you so scared of? Do you want to share a yogurt with me or whatever it is? Share a drink. And he's on the phone talking to somebody, talking to his brother. Or he's talking to her, and he's getting really angry and having like a therapy session with her. And then as he starts walking out the building, it starts panning past all these like bodies. He's like shoved somebody for a light. You've got people on the floor bleeding out, whatever. So you figure out that the reason she's scared is because of what he's done. But and then from there, the two of them start investigating it. They get kind of tied up with the cartel, and then they find out about this guy who is essentially smuggling in illegals to do his bidding for his company. And he has a soft spot for kids, especially one kid. They find out about this kid who, yet again, is autistic, and like Christian kind of has a bond with him because he's autistic. And Ace is a very key character that I don't really want to spoil, but there's some spoilers in there. There's some really good stuff in there when it comes to like amnesia, for want of a better word, with her character, which is like the big twist of the movie that I don't really want to spoil. But the film kind of goes off the rails a little bit when it comes to that. That scene of who she actually is and stuff like that they show you later on in the film kind of jumped the shark a little bit for me. I was like, really? They expect you to believe she was this person because of obviously with amnesia. And yeah, they look nothing alike. And yeah, other than that, the action's really good in this film. The action was fantastic in the first film. They used Krav Maga and different types of fighting styles that you don't normally see in action films. Like, it's all very hand-to-hand and like using your forearm as like bouncing blows off and things like that, which is kind of cool. I'm sure it's Krav Maga they said that they used, and well, it's just a totally different fighting style to what you normally see in these action films, which is why I kind of like the first one. On top of like oh no, it's Penchak Salat. I lied, not Krav Maga. And there's an Indonesian martial arts, and it's fantastic. And I thought Affleck was good as well in the first one and in this one. I've just watched his movie with Damon the Rip. I really enjoy, for all of his numerous controversies and his stuff with J-Lo and the fact that he's been on Rogan's podcast and all that. I've always liked Ben Affleck. I thought he was a great Batman. I love him in Pearl Harbor. I think he's great in Armageddon. I've never watched a Ben Affleck film and gone, he's put in a bad performance. The film around him might be terrible, but he always seems to put in a good performance. Like, even in the Justice League film, where he didn't really want to be there, and he was kind of like on the outs with it, he still kind of gave his all. I want to say, like, he still gave a decent performance, even though he was kind of like mentally jacked out. But yeah, maybe I'm lying, but yeah, to me, that's what I think anyway. Like, Argo, he's great in. Some of the other things I'm looking at now, Air, he was great in as well. Recently, that especially like the last 5 or 6 years, especially since he did The Way Back, which was another one that he did with Gavin O'Connor. I think I called him Gavin Hood earlier. I meant Gavin O'Connor. Another Gavin O'Connor film about a guy that struggles with alcoholism, coming back to his old school to be a basketball coach. Really simple story there as well, but it's all about him getting his life back together after being an alcoholic, which was good. So I don't really hate much that Affleck's done. Thought this was a very good sequel, even though the tone feels off. This feels a lot more like a Marvel MCU, kind of like Deadpool, Wolverine team up, goofy action film, because there's a lot of banter between the two of them, whereas the first one kind of played it a lot more serious. And some people still prefer the first one, some people prefer the second one because it's more it's easy to get on board with. It wasn't as deep in the script. In the first one was very deep, a lot of like financial stuff, a lot of backstory, a lot of flashing forward and flashing back, and a lot of like, there was like 3 different branches in the story, an A, B and C plot that all linked together by the end of it and stuff. Whereas this one's a lot more simple. Just these two go on a road trip together with Mary Beth to solve a crime and solve Raymond King's murder. That's it. And you get what you get. You get what you want. You get a straightforward action film with them two bantering each other. Well, as much as his character can banter. Which he does. He gets some laughs in there, taking a piss out of his brother Braxton. But yeah, that's The Accountant 2. Not much more else to say on that. Let me move on to Saturday Night then, which is number 22 on the list. This is my first 9 out of 10, or 4.5 star. Set the scene. This is essentially the story of how the very first Saturday Night Live in the States got made and the chaos that happened. The story is essentially told in real time. Everything that happened, there's people on here that you might know of if you're of a certain era, and especially if you know, like, so Dan Aykroyd, aka Ray Stantz from Ghostbusters, Jim Belushi, who was his comedy partner, and they were in the Blues Brothers together. There's a bunch of other people. I'm not fully versed in Saturday Night Live because obviously we don't really have it here in the UK. For those of you that are watching from a different country, especially those from the States, we don't have it here. But I thought it was really interesting, the fact that it was done essentially live And the amount of changes they have to, it's a very tense atmosphere, because like things keep getting changed at the last minute. Scripts want to change, certain people are put in certain situations they want to be in, certain sketches don't work out, people are constantly questioning why this show is even a thing. So like Gabrielle the Bell, who is most known for playing the lead character in Steven Spielberg's like self biopic about his life, The Fabelmans. He plays Lorne Michaels. Rachel Sennett's in there, who a lot of people. She's like an up and comer that a lot of people know. There's like Dylan O'Brien's in it as Dan Aykroyd, who I thought he was pretty good. Yeah, it's one of those things where I thought, for what it was, it should have. For me personally, it should have got nominated at the Oscars last year for best picture. It was one of the best of the year. The tension that it ramps up was fantastic. The direction is stellar in this. Like the amount of like moving camera shots. There's camera shots over here, then we've got to move over here, and the camera is constantly moving. It's constantly. If it stops for like 30 seconds and then it moves on. Then we're constantly going through hallways. Then we're going down, and then if it takes its time on a scene, you know that scene is pretty pivotal and important to the film and what the themes are of the film. Of like, it doesn't really have that many themes, but like it's pivotal to what's going on essentially. But it's just an edge of your seat biopic about how Saturday Night Live became a thing, with a great cast, all playing their characters really, really well. I thought Rachel Sennett was really good as kind of like, she's one of the behind the scenes people. Is it Rosie Schuster? She was like married to Lorne Michaels. I thought their relationship was really well realised. The guy that they got to play Chevy Chase, like I've only seen Chevy Chase in like your American Pies and things like that. I'm sure it's American Pie that he's in. Maybe I lied. I probably lied. I've only seen him in the films that he's in, so I don't know that much. He's a different generation to me, comedy wise. So I haven't seen him in that much, but I know a lot of people love his stuff. So yeah, because obviously he's been in Community, and he had his series that was like long running as well. But yeah, like I genuinely thought this was a really well made film. It's directed by Jason Reitman, who did Ghostbusters, Afterlife and stuff like that. He's the son of Ivan Reitman, who directed the original Ghostbusters and is like best friends with Aykroyd and all that. So a lot of this should be, if anybody could get this right, it should be the son of a guy who worked on Saturday Night Live, from what I remember, and also worked with a bunch of guys that were on Saturday Night Live. And he was around Aykroyd all the time and stuff like that when his dad was making the first two Ghostbusters films. So yeah, it's just a fun blast that keeps you on the edge of your seat, with great comedic moments, great camera work, great cinematography. It's got a fantastic score. It's just like pulsating every 5 minutes. They get the 70s feel, like it looks dark and dirty, for want of a better word. It looks like it's shot on film. Certain areas that look seedy are supposed to. Yeah, this is another one that I said that I think I've only seen the once, back in the theatres back in like February again, so I don't remember like every single thing that happened. But from what I remember, I really enjoyed it. As you can tell, I gave it a 9 out of 10. And yeah, this is one that I'm going to revisit. I wish they put a Blu-ray out for it, because then you put a DVD out for it. Same with The Accountant, there's no Blu-ray for it. But yeah, pretty good. Next, 21, Novocaine. Excuse me. So, pretty simple story. Again, I love my simple action films. I love this type of Nobody, John Wick, Hardcore Henry. Is another one that is escaping me, but like Violent Night. Lower budget action movies where they have some sort of gimmick to hook you in. So obviously with Violent Night, it's Santa killing people. With Nobody, it's the fact you got Bob Odenkirk, the guy that plays Better Call Saul, who's mainly a comedic actor, playing a serious action star. John Wick is obviously the world and things like that, and they're all kind of like related. David Leitch's stuff as well, like with Bullet Train and The Fall Guy. Comedy action film, the twist is the Fall Guy is obviously a reboot of the TV series, and it also has it's all about a stunt guy, and the whole film is essentially dedicated to stunt guys, which is essentially what Stahelski and Leach and all these guys are. So moving on to Novocaine, Jack Quaid, obviously the son of Dennis Quaid, big Hollywood actor, and he's been in The Boys for so long now that people know who he is. He essentially has CEPA, which I believe is congenital insensitivity to pain. Essentially, it's something like that. I will get the exact definition up in a minute. The exact thingy up in a minute. I was just waiting for it to load. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I was right. Congenital insensitivity to pain with anhidrosis. So essentially, he feels no pain. So he can stab himself in the hand as much as he wants, break legs, break teeth, pull stuff out, blind himself, whatever, and he will feel absolutely no pain. So he spent most of his life essentially wrapping himself up in cotton wool. He tends to blend all his food, so he doesn't bite his tongue off. All of his corners on his desks and stuff all have tennis balls on them, so if he bashes into them, he doesn't cause himself any pain. He's covered in bruises. As you find out, he's got like a massive chest tattoo because he can't feel any pain, which is essentially the whole gimmick of the whole thing. But the story is he works in a bank. He falls in love with Amber Midthunder's character, who she was the lead girl from Prey. Sherry in this, but she's mostly known, I think, for most people as Naru from Prey. And she works in the bank. One day, bank heist happens. They come in. They kill one of the bank tellers. Turn to Jack Quaid. Turn to Nathan Kane, Novocaine, and say, "I'm going to shoot your girlfriend," because he has feelings for Sherry, obviously. Or you're going to open the safe for me. So he opens the safe, gives him the money, and then they kidnap Sherry. And the rest of the film is him tracking down Sherry any way that he can. He robs a police car, and he literally just goes out there and he runs into different people. So he comes out, puts a tourniquet on the policeman because he knows how to do them, because obviously he's probably done them for himself. He tracks down one guy, has a fight in the kitchen, which is kind of cool because the gun goes in a deep fat fryer, and he puts his hand in it. His hand goes bloody manky, and he has stuff thrown at him, and he throws stuff back. But he's essentially like your everyman, your guy that's like new to all this, doesn't know how to fight, doesn't know anything. He's just got one strength, for want of a better word, which is doesn't feel anything, so he can do whatever he wants to get where he needs to. It doesn't mean that he can't die, doesn't mean that he can't bleed out, he just won't feel any of it. So there's this gnarly scene where he puts his hand into a deep fat fryer to pull a gun out. He has knives chucked through him, he has stuff like that. It's really well done, but it can be a little bit squeamish because essentially he goes to a tattoo artist afterwards, after finding out from the guy that he's tracked down, one of the robbers, to get the info, and he essentially tattoos, interrogates the dude with the tattoo gun after he tries to hurt him, and he can't feel anything. So he essentially overpowers the guy because the guy keeps sitting there trying to hurt him and everything, and stab him with the needle. And he essentially just keeps using the needle on the guy's face and really badly injures him to interrogate him into giving him what he wants. But then he writes the address that he needs on his hand, goes to the guy's home address, the guy that he fought in the restaurant, and the guy's booby trapped it. So essentially, he goes in there, gets stuck in a trap, he gets an arrow in his knee, and he gets a big mace, knight's mace in his back, and then essentially he tracks down Sherry. There's a twist for Sherry, I don't want to go too much into that. I was kind of like, oh, okay. That one actually blindsided me, whereas some of the other twists in some of the other films that we spoke about, especially, so I just, as I say, I just watched The Rip with Ben Affleck, and that the twists in that film were kind of obvious, whereas with this one, it was kind of like, I did not see that coming at all, but once you hear the twist, it kind of like makes sense, and then eventually he gets to rescue her. After like going through more and more intense things. So he obviously starts out with a gun in the deep fat fryer, and then he's like tattooing himself. Then he gets these booby traps in his back, and then towards the end he crashes a car on purpose and gets out and like it's the guy with his it's the main bad guy with his hand and everything. And the main guy is Jack Nicholson's son, which is kind of funny. You got Dennis Quaid's son and thing. And then you also got Jacob Batalon in there. He plays Ned in the MCU. He plays his friend Roscoe that he plays League of Legends and stuff like that with, and he does some digging for him. But yeah, no, really good film. Pretty straightforward action film with a good gimmick. Jack Quaid is really likeable as like the main everyman that you need to get behind. If his performance doesn't make you like him, or does it make you get on board with this, then I don't think this film will be for you. I will say a lot of the incidents are very squeamish. You can look them up on YouTube and stuff. They've had to blur them because of how like over the top brutal they are. It gets like an engine dropped on him at one point. It just gets worse and worse and worse progressively as the film goes on. Like he even stabs somebody with his own. He has a bone sticking out of his arm, I want to say, and he kills the guy with the bone, with his tib and fib. He's one of the two sticking out his arm, and he stabs the guy in the neck with his own forearm bone. So if that sounds like it's up your alley, perfect film to go for. But yeah, 21, Novocaine. It was, I can't go any higher because I can't say it's like it is one of the best of the year, but I haven't seen that many films this year. Like, considering how much of a film that I am, there's people out there that have watched like 120 films this year. I've watched 58. But for as straightforward it is and as simple as it is, I can't really put it any higher. It doesn't do anything that blows me away apart from like obviously some of the gore that happens. The performances are good. I enjoy them. I like Jack Quaid. I love Amber Midthunder in there, so I love the main four that you see. The budget's quite cheap, so you're always going to make money back. The score by Lorne Balfe was really good. So yeah, it was really, really good, fun action film that I recommend to anybody if you don't mind the squeamish blood and guts, compared to like obviously John Wick. So yeah, next, Friendship. So Tim Robinson is a really weird dude, for want of a better word. He does comedy that is kind of, for want of a better word, weird. Like, it's not straightforward like sketch comedy. He has a very strange sense of humour, laughing about stuff, and like he likes his really awkward humour, like saying something really stupid and then just sitting in that, and letting the audience sit in that. So this is essentially the story of Tim Robinson's character, who's married to Kate Mara. A new neighbour moves into the area, played by Paul Rudd, and he delivers him a parcel, and he invites him into his house, and says, "Oh, you should come hang with some of my guys." And when he does come there, he's a little bit weird and a little bit awkward and kind of over the top. But he's thinking about moving, but eventually, as I say, gets in with Paul Rudd, and yeah, it just chronically gets weirder and weirder, and crazier and crazier. Like, it's shot really well, it looks really good, the comedy is fantastic, but it's a really hard film to kind of explain because it's essentially just all comedic setups, but for really awkward jokes. He is the butt of every joke. You absolutely hate his character. They make him so unlikable, so weird, and I don't mean weird in a good way. Like, oh yeah, I listen to soundtrack stuff, or oh yeah, I listen to a little bit of heavy metal, or like, oh I can't, I'm a little bit weird. Like, no, like this guy, he's very unsociable. He doesn't have a lot of friends. He's weird to his wife. He's weird to his son. He's just a very strange guy. But it just leads to some of the funniest moments of the whole year. There's so many scenes like you just a bit like Uncut Gems as well. Like you feel for him because he is so unlikable and so unsociable. Not unsociable, but like he doesn't really have any social skills, and doesn't know when it's appropriate to talk or when it's not appropriate to talk. And like he says to everybody, "Oh, we should go watch the new Marvel." Doesn't say new Marvel movie because of the new Marvel. New Marvel's out. And yeah, he goes over for the beer, and then he kind of gets obsessed with him. Kind of gets obsessed with Paul Rudd because Paul Rudd's so much cooler. He smokes weed. He's chilled out. Very, very much similar to the dynamic that was going on with Benji and David from Jesse Eisenberg and Kieran Culkin from A Real Pain. But he just takes this obsession way too far. He starts like trying to break into the guy's house, and you're just sat there like squeamishly going, "What is happening?" Like it's a really good exploration of obsession. How far is too far? How awkward can a person actually be? And yeah, it's a really hard one to describe because it's as I say, it's just a weird comedy. Like you have to watch it to get it. If you watch this guy's other comedy that you can watch on YouTube and stuff, right? Yeah, last year. Yeah, it's but not Sheldon Cooper. Like Sheldon is weird, but they take the mick out of him because he's not good in social situations. In the fact that like he's autistic and he can't pick up on social cues and he's just selfish. This guy, he's just weird. You just do not like him. He has a very weird sense of humour. He doesn't know when to say things. He always says like the weirdest things. As in like, oh, I'm just gonna go have a beer now with a bud, and like you just sat there going, oh god, like I've never cringed at Sheldon Cooper. This guy, I can cringe at. It just makes me cringe. It's very cringe, sometimes gross out humour that you're just sat there in your seat going, oh god. But I really enjoyed it because there's some really dumb moments in there, and I have a really dumb sense of humour. You can find some of the better moments obviously on YouTube as well. This is another one I only saw once, so this is one that I would love to watch again. There is a Blu-ray out for it, I think. But it's not going to be everybody's cup of tea. If you watch the first 15-20 minutes and you get on board with where it's going, get on board with its comedy, his style and how awkward he is, you'll really get it. If you don't, then I would say stop after like the first 20 or so minutes and go watch something else because it's just not for you. But everybody in it's fantastic. Being A24, it always looks gorgeous. Some of the music in it is fantastic as well. The score was great. It also uses some trying to remember what songs they actually use now in it. The soundtrack's just weird and kooky as well. It just completely like there's certain times where he's setting off on like his obsession, and it's playing like this do 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 like kind of music. It's just a really good package. It's a film I really enjoyed. Goofy as hell, weird as hell. There's not really much else I can say. Next, 19. Predator, Killer of Killers. Another one I've only seen once. Animated Predator film. 9 out of 10. So, this story is essentially a lot like Predators. So it's split into 3 different stories. So essentially, it's like an anthology film. You've got a Viking lady. I think her name's the Gertha or something like that. I will double check just to be on the safe side. She lives with. She's the queen of her village. She is like the alpha. She's built like a brick shit house. She leads her village and goes out and kills beasts. And she's trying to train her son to obviously be a successor. And they're out there one day doing some hunting, trying to teach him how to hunt. Her name's Ursa. Leads her son Anders and their clan on the hunt for Zoran, who was the guy that killed her family. So essentially, they're out there hunting for this guy because he came for her village when she was younger, killed her parents, and that's when she had to kind of like toughen up, and she became this like magnificent leader because of all the trauma that she went through as a kid. And he made her kill her own dad, essentially. So she wants to have a better relationship with her son. She doesn't want to be as tough on her son and as horrible as that was. But yeah, so the first part is just them trying to find this Zoran guy. And as that happens, they are being trapped or hunted by a predator. So when they catch Zoran, it eventually turns into he gets killed. This woman and her son trying to outlive a predator attack, and this predator trying to kill them, because obviously predators love the hunt, and we're the biggest prey that they can find. They like hunting hunters. So essentially, I don't want to spoil too much, but that happens, and she gets captured. And something happens to her son, and she gets captured. Then we move on. So they're broken up into the shield, the sword, and the bullet. So the shield is that one. The sword is about 2 brothers in the Edo period in Japan, who are the sons of a samurai warlord, and they have to duel each other to be their father's successor. So essentially, one says, I'm not going to kill my own brother to become my father's favourite or whatever. Gets disgraced and he leaves and he learns to become a shinobi, aka a ninja. Right? After all that, 20 years later, he tries to break into the palace to confront his brother. While that happens, Predator confronts them. So they have their battle while the Predator's hunting them down. And then eventually towards the end, they have to team up to take on the Predator. So that's another like 20-minute short story. And then we have the bullet. So we have this young mechanic, Torres, who during the Second World War, he's drafted in as a mechanic to work on a ship and work on obviously like planes and stuff. My brain is not braining. So he wants to be a pilot. He learned to be a mechanic under his dad, but he always wanted to be a pilot. So essentially, when he was drafted, his dream was always to be a pilot, but he was always left behind. He's under the command of Captain Vanderberg, aka they all call him Vandy. So he's grounded. He's not allowed to leave. His captain says, "You're not allowed to leave. It's up to us to do it." As the captain and his team are out there this is in the North African campaign, while his team are out there trying to take on the enemy, for want of a better word, they get attacked by a flying predator who flies in a plane. And he's taken out all their team. They're all on their way back. They're out there to fight a battle, and then they're on their way back. So they're investigating this like plane that's taking something out. Turns out it's the Predator plane. Predator takes out the crew one by one. So what obviously happens, Torres finds a way to fix his plane, and finds a way to actually get out there. And with the help of Andy, he ends up taking out the Predator ship. So that all happens. He comes home from the war a hero after he's taken out the Predator. And he comes home. He takes over the his garage, his father's garage, which is where he learned, obviously, in the beginning. And he's abducted by the Predators. So you take Ursa, you take Kenji from the second one, the brother that becomes the ninja, and Torres, and they get abducted by the Predators and essentially shoved into the arena and told to fight to be the best. And whoever wins gets to fight the leader of the Predators for dominance. And if they win, they get accepted in and they can be taken back to their own world. And yeah, so it's a really cool story. Like, I'm not doing it as much justice as I would like to, but it's essentially 3 separate stories that then come together and show how the Predators abduct people from around the world, and obviously from different time periods as well. So you find out at the end, they've also got Naru from Prey. Looks like Amber Mid Thunder. This is obviously an animated film. Animation looks gorgeous, by the way. It's a mixture between... It's Spider-Verse, but less bright and a lot more dark, and it's a different type of frame rate. I know I kind of struggled with getting used to the frame rate in this film, but it looks spectacular. And then you add that with another film that I'm about to talk about a little bit later on, Predator Badlands, and we've had a really good year for Predator this year. But yeah, so they brought in suspended animation, so a Viking lady from the 900s, a samurai from 1609, and an American from 1942. I kept in cryo, brought and fight this monster to fight the king. And yeah, stuff happens that I want to kind of give away, but there's a post-credit scene. There's a post-credit scene where, as I say, Naru's in it. Danny Glover's in it. Danny Glover's character from Predator 2, whose name I forget. Hartigan, I want to say. I'm sure it's Hartigan. I have so many names rattling around in my head. Yeah, Harrigan, not Hartigan. Is in cryo as well. And then the cool thing about this was that was supposed to be it. And then later on, they went back. This is the first time that they've actually edited a streaming movie for the better. They then added Dutch Arnie. So that's a way for them to continue Harrigan and Dutch's character on in animation without actually having to do it in live action, which has always been the bane of the Terminator franchise. So they've always had to bring Arnie back. But yeah, it's a really, really cool story. Obviously, Trachtenberg's involved in this again, the guy who did the last, did Prey, mainly known for Prey and Cloverfield Lane. But after seeing this, Prey and Badlands, I am all in on this Predator universe. The way he set up the Alien universe as well. Obviously, Alien is something I've only just come around to. I've finally watched the first Alien and Aliens the last couple of months of 2025. I watched Aliens just before Christmas and Alien in like early December, late November. So the way they do the world building in Badlands, which I'll get onto in a little bit, it's just fantastic. But yeah, this was like something to kind of tide us over until Badlands came out. Trachtenberg's obviously involved, so he just gets Predator in a way that a lot of other people don't. He understands that what most people want is a Predator movie in different time periods throughout. This is the film that everybody's been wanting. It's put the Predator in samurai times, put the Predator in Viking times, put the Predator in like High Rome, put the Predator in future things, a future time period. The Predator versus a samurai, the Predator versus a berserker. Like, there's just so much stuff you can do with the Predator universe that doesn't require you to bring back Dutch, to bring back all the old characters. You could just go, what about a Predator in this time period? What about a Predator versus a Homo erectus, for example? Like, and it doesn't even necessarily always have to be Earth. You could do what about Predator on this planet? which is obviously what they kind of do with Badlands. I love myself some sci-fi mixed with action, mixed with a little bit of horror. Right up my alley. So I love a Predator franchise. I love this. I love the lore that adds to the Predator universe. Just an overall really good animated film that if you're a Predator fan, you should have already checked out, and if you haven't, you should. So yeah, it's not really that confusing. It's just like one story, and then they all kind of unite at the end. It'd be like, for example, if you had a Disney princess movie with Cinderella, Belle, and Mulan, right? So Mulan had a little story at the beginning that was all about her needing to do this. Cinderella needing to do this thing. Belle needing to do this thing, and at the end, they kind of unite together because they have to, for want of a better thingy, for some reason, for story reasons. That's essentially what it is. It's just three separate stories that end up uniting in the end, which I'm explaining it probably to make it more confusing than it actually is. But when you watch the film, you kind of get it. But yeah, anyway, so that was number 19. That was Killer of Killers. We're obviously in the top 20 now. Let's move on to number 18. So, Nuremberg. From what I hear, this has done pretty well for itself at the box office over the last month or so. It's been a sneak kind of box office winner. Well, it's not winning every week, but it's accumulating a good total, considering it's like a $40 million small biopic. It's for essentially, you can kind of get what it is from the title. For want of a better phrase, it's all about the guy that gets to know Goering. It's all about the Nuremberg trials, Rudolf Hess, Goering, all that. And the main thrust of the story is they bring in a psychologist, a US Army psychologist based on a true story, who interviews Goering to make sure he's fit to stand trial and to kind of learn things from him that the American prosecutors can use to prosecute. Because essentially it was a show trial. Once they captured Goering and they captured all the other like defected Nazis and that were trying to get out, they essentially wanted to put them to death. But one judge, played by who was up for Supreme Court, played by Michael Shannon, said, "I don't think it's fair that they get killed and what the evils that they did are just kind of then lost to history. We need to put this on display. We need people to watch this. We need people to know what these horrible, horrible people did to the human race, so it can never happen again." So there's a written record of it. The fact that we gave them a trial, we put all their information in there. And so that's essentially what it is. Most of the film is Rami Malek, who plays the doctor, sitting with Goering, played by Russell Crowe, who gives a really good performance, by the way. Just sat there kind of like getting to know each other. And like Rami Malek takes letters from Goering to his wife and back and forth, and like he becomes a little bit too involved. He starts to realise that this guy in front of him is as bad as he thinks the rest of them are, because he goes in there totally kind of like wanting to hate Goering, and is kind of won over by the fact that he's just a charismatic guy. He's just a guy. He's a guy that he would go and drink a beer with if the tables were turned, or if this was a completely different time or whatever. He would just hang out with this guy. He likes talking to him, and he's trying to understand what Goering is, who Goering is, and stuff that he's done and whatever. Because when they first meet each other, he pretends to not know English. Well, Rami Malek picks up on it straight away. Essentially, they show you in the film that, of course, he knows English. He lets it up. He lets up the gig because he recognises what he's saying to him. So yeah, it's a really, really interesting film. The majority, like the main thrust of the beginning and most of the film is them setting up the trial, and Goering and Rami Malek's characters' relationship. How they go from polar opposites to actually being good friends, to then by the end of it he realizes what an absolute sick, degenerate, cowardly man Goering is by the end of it, and how he will always stick by his values and how he will always stick by Hitler and the guys, for want of a better word, like, and his people. Like, he for all of his bluster, for all of his charisma, all of his thingy. This is why far right values and things like that tend to become big and popular. That's why we call it populism. Is because of cult personalities, people that just somehow are filled, evil people that have good charisma and can woo you in very easily. That's why, like, people in cults, people in whatever, get drawn in so easily, because these people are so magnetic. They make you feel like you're the best thing since sliced bread. They make you feel like you matter and that you're a part of something, and that you're part of something bigger than yourself, kind of thing. And that's why Rami Malek kind of like becomes engrossed in this man, like, because he's not just Hermann Goering, the notorious war criminal. He's also a man that is interested in reading, that likes certain things, that and it's not portraying him as sympathetic. He's not saying, "Oh, look at Goering, what a really nice guy he is." It doesn't do that at all. But it kind of I'm trying to think of it. It doesn't make him sympathetic. It just tries to get you to understand why he was the way he is, and then realise by the end of it, for all the kind of stuff that he does, or some of the stuff that he talks about, and the way he comes across as just an average person, how evil and sickness and degenerate thinking and racism and things like that can just pollute your mind. And I just thought it was a really, really compelling story. And then obviously you have the trials at the end, and you see a lot of the footage of the camps, which, like, honestly, like, made me bawl my eyes out. My parents also, well, my dad also went to see it, and apparently he said they'd used some footage in it that hadn't been seen before from the camps. Yeah, everybody was. I'll tell you now, there was not a dry eye in the house watching it. But yeah, as a film, it's a pretty standard biopic. You know that there's going to be, like, especially with Rami Malek and Crows Goering, there's going to be ups and downs. Like, he's going to start off really bad, and then going to build up like a friendship, and then he's going to do something that's really horrible that he doesn't really like, and realise how much of a monster this guy is, and then it's going to kind of descend. Like, you just kind of know what is going to happen, but they just do it in a way that feels realistic, that keeps you engaged. You want these evil people to be put to trial for their crimes, but they also kind of make you understand how really horrible people can also be very charming and very charismatic, and can lure into their way of thinking quite easily. And I think it's a very poignant thing at the moment. I think a lot of people should be watching this film to realise why leaders of the past got elected, why so many people, because we go now, why did so many people follow the Austrian Pater guy? Oh, because he was a very good leader, he had a very good way with words, he drew people in, he made people feel like they were more than they were. He was really good at pointing people at the enemy and making him and the country feel like scapegoats. That type of stuff. And without going too much into it, those who do not look at history are do not learn from history are doomed to repeat it. And with a lot of what's happening now, especially in the States, I just felt it was very poignant for me personally. But there you go. So that's Nuremberg. Really good. I know Mikey will probably be interested in that one when it comes on to thingy. But I really, really enjoyed it. Thought it was a really good, solid biopic. Next. Another 9 out of 10. Another film that I really loved from this year. We talked about Stephen King last time. We obviously had Welcome to Derry. I talked about Life of Chuck earlier, which I really enjoyed, even if the narrative was kind of done out of order, for want of a better word. It's not in medias res, but I can't remember what the name of it is. I will look it up. Reverse chronology. That's the one I was looking for. It's told back to front, essentially. But yeah, there's a lot of Stephen King adaptations this year. We obviously had The Running Man, which was a Stephen King book done under his pseudonym, which was Richard Buckman, which we talked about in the first string because I didn't really like that one. Then obviously we had Life of Chuck, which I did enjoy a bit more, but I didn't love. And then we had obviously Welcome to Derry, and there's some. I think there's another Stephen King adaptation. I shall just Google it quick. I might be forgetting one. And there's The Institute as well, apparently. Oh, and The Monkey. Yeah, that was the one I was trying to remember. That came out right at the beginning of the year, last year. That was a horror film. But yeah, so Long Walk. Yet another simple story. I love my simple plots because it gives you chance to learn about the characters. And in this one, characters are key. So, a bit like The Running Man, it's another dystopian thing like The Hunger Games and stuff like that. Battle Royale, where every year they put a bunch of kids sign up between a certain age. They put their name down and they're drawn at random, and these guys essentially have to walk as far as they can, and if you stop for longer than 30 seconds, you're killed. And it's essentially last man standing. Essentially this was done because America got itself into a really bad position, famine, war, things like that. And this is put on as a show by the dictatorial government. Really loving our dictatorial governments and right-wingers and fascists and stuff this year in films. I wonder why. But yeah, essentially, so got to walk as far as they can. If they stop for longer than 30 seconds, they're shot, they're killed. And whoever is last man standing is last man standing, essentially. So we follow Ray Garrity, who's played by Cooper Hoffman, the son of Philip Seymour Hoffman, who a lot of people know. Really big actor, was in The Hunger Games, Mission Impossible, things like that. He volunteered even though his mother didn't want him to. He turns up and he meets his group, which consists of why is his name not coming to me? The gentleman from Alien Romulus, David Johnson, plays Pete McVries, who essentially becomes Ray's best friend. He's a little bit older. He's kind of more of a kind and selfish guy. He tries to motivate the other guys, and that takes a real interest in why they're there and things like that. Then you got Stebbins, who essentially is the athletic one. He's the guy that's been training for this his whole life, and he has ties to one of the characters in the film that I won't go too much into. You've got Mark Hamill in this, who was also in the other Stephen King adaptation, The Life of Chuck. One of my favourite actors, Luke Skywalker himself. He plays the Major, who essentially runs the government and runs the Long Walk. He's the general, or the Major, in charge of keeping people to the rules, making sure the drinks are topped up, making sure the food's topped up, and essentially motivating them. But like to a point, he's just a tosser, for better words than this. He's all about making them macho men and keeps talking about keep pushing and keep doing this and separating the wheat from the chaff and whatever. And after a while, he just grinds because you just don't like him to begin with because he's in a position of power, but also he's just so aggravating. But as I say, so you got Cooper Hoffman, who plays Ray Garrity. Then you got Pete McVries. You got Stebbins, who essentially is kind of like an outside of the group. Then you've got Toot Nyut as Art Baker, who becomes part of the group, and then Ben Wong, who was in Karate Kid, an American-born Chinese that I spoke about before. He plays Hank Olsen. Essentially, these become our core four guys. We have other people in there. We have Barkovich, played by Charlie Plummer, who he's a bit of a dick. He just walks, but he starts like having a go at others. He's not really right in the head to start with. And he wants to make friends, but he's a bit too outside and a bit too weird in the wrong way. A bit socially isolating and doesn't really like other people and is really arsey with other people. And it's a really good, positive look at masculinity. Like, this is the one film this year, apart from like obviously Superman, where like we have a lot of I am going to go into politics a little bit. People hate me for it, but usually films and media are a reflection of our culture. It's a reflection of good, positive masculinity in a world where we're filled with negative masculinity, like being told to be tough, being told to be emotionless, like obviously the toxic masculinity stuff that people go on about. Whereas this film, like the two leads, David Johnson and Cooper Hoffman, like become best buds, and they keep pushing each other and they keep looking out for each other and they keep making sure each other's okay, and their friendship is a portrayal of just healthy masculine friendship. They tease each other, yeah, and they have laughs and jokes, but you can tell, even though they've only just met each other, and they know they're going to go through hell together, that what they're doing matters, and that like they just express everything that they feel, and they don't feel like they have to hold anything back. They can just say what they feel when they want, and it was just like the bromance of the year for me. Those two got on really, really well. They have fantastic chemistry. But yeah, the story is not really, yet again, not really much to it. It's all about the characters and how they react. And thinking like the shot isn't anything, the shooting isn't anything special. Like most of the camera has everybody in the middle of the camera. It's blocked properly. Like it's nothing to write home about. What is the most important is that they got the characters right and the script is the strength in this. Like the lines that they say to each other, the banter, the keeping each other motivated, the talking about taking down the major, stuff like that. It just feels very different to like a lot of the other dystopian like teenage thriller stuff that we've had, like Hunger Games and whatever. And it is brutal. Like there's a couple of scenes in this, I'm not gonna lie, where I was crying. Like you get really attached to these characters like Hank and Art and whatever, that when you eventually know that they've got to die, some of them have to die because it's called The Long Walk and they're all going to get shot. Yeah, it was just really good. I really enjoyed it. I thought the chemistry between the two leads was fantastic. The script was really good. Yeah, the soundtrack, the score by Jeremiah Freites just gets stuck in my head. The dun 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 dun. The theme for this is fantastic. The music throughout the whole thing is also a key element in why I got so emotional. He really knows how to emphasize the sadder moments and the happier moments, but keep it grounded. And considering this is directed by Francis Lawrence, who's the guy that did the Hunger Games films and Constantine and other stuff, this feels like the most un-Francis Lawrence film that I've seen. Doesn't feel like his Hunger Games films or things like that. Because like for all the horrible stuff that happens in the Hunger Games films, all the torture, all the death, all the thingy, there always feels like there's some hope to it. for want of a better word. Like, they feels like the reason they fight, the reason they do this is because it's hope that it's going to get better. As this just feels so, you come out of it just depressed. Like, you just feel sad, and it starts to make you think about how this could become a reality, and things that we should pick up from it, and things that we should be learning. And yeah, it was a really, really enjoyable film with a great cast, great music, great cinematography, even though like it's pretty simple, and a really, really good script. So this is one to definitely check out. I don't really want to spoil too much because it's one of those things where like part of it is the shock at who dies and why they die and things like that. So yeah, that's that. Next, Frankenstein. So I'm a big fan of Guillermo del Toro. Guillermo del Toro is one of my favourite directors. Pacific Rim, both the Hellboy duology. His Pinocchio is great. Never seen Pan's Labyrinth, but I hear good things. Shape of Water, I really enjoyed. He's a very gothic horror person. He has a different type of creature design. You can tell he's really inspired by like the works of Mary Shelley, and old school body horror and things like that. His creatures always look scary. Like even the ones that are supposed to look cool, they just have this kind of like mythical, magical. I hate using that. Sounds like I'm trying to write a Benson Boone song. Mythical kind of like element to it. It feels mystical and magical rather than like the chilling, terrifying sci-fi of something like an Alien. So I thought, what would be the perfect thing for a Guillermo del Toro movie? Frankenstein. It just is. The guy loves doing body horror. He loves doing gothic horror, like classic old school horror. Oscar Isaac is fantastic in this as Victor Frankenstein. I love that they stick quite true to Shelley's book. From what I know, I don't know if it's a direct adaptation. I should not have said that because I haven't read the book, but it just feels different to the other adaptations. There is freaky stuff on the show, like when he builds like the body to prove that there's life after death, stuff like that. But in this, it's all set design, costume design, and cinematography. Immaculate. All the costuming is fantastic. Every set design, especially the castle where they build the monster. Proper gothic architecture. Looks fantastic. Is shot in stunning vistas. Like the camera moves in such glorious ways, and I was just so immersed in this film. The performance from Elordi as the monster, Jacob Elordi as the monster, is great. You really feel empathy for him. Like he's really good at like dragging out of you. Like you do feel like he's a wounded animal, not a human being. He's a wounded animal, and then to see how he grows over time and learns and pick things up from like living with rats in like some old house. Fantastic. Some of the best scenes of the year are just the monster sat with David Bradley's character. David Bradley, obviously from Game of Thrones, and played the first Doctor in Doctor Who, because in the two Doctors Christmas special, with Capaldi, and obviously he's been in Harry Potter as Filch. They just sit there, and the way he talks to them and treats, because David Bradley's character is part of the family that is part of a family of hunters that hunt the monster down earlier in the film, and then he finds his way back to their hut, and then they leave, and he's just sat there, and like they call him the something of the forest, not the monster of the forest, but that he comes through and he helps like build this family a fence and helps them with like Christmas dinner and stuff like that. Oh, Spirit of the Forest is what they call him. So yeah, he essentially builds pens for the sheep and stuff when they're asleep. Thought that was really good. I thought the stuff with Elizabeth and Victor, how Elizabeth is essentially a reincarnation of his mum, and he has mummy issues. Victor Frankenstein has very bad mummy issues. Like his dad, played by Charles Dance, did not treat him well as a kid. He was the hated kid. He was the one that was picked on and was constantly like told you need to do better, because his father was like he was a physician. Obviously, this is where like Frankenstein gets his skills from, and he's essentially like punished for not being good enough all the time. You didn't do this, you didn't do that, and that's why Oscar Isaac plays it so. Yeah, he's crazy, but he's a sympathetic kind of crazy until he starts pushing things too far. And he's a definite mad scientist where he doesn't realise the thing he really wants is actually in front of him, and he gets so obsessed with his goal, gets so obsessed with building his monster and doing what he needs to by any means necessary, that he actually ends up destroying the thing he wanted most, which is Elizabeth, his partner, who's his brother's wife. Whereas his brother, William, was the well-liked son. He was the son that grew up to become a nobleman, and the complete opposite of his brother. But I really enjoyed that they split it up. They had the bit at the beginning. I always love seeing Lars Mikkelsen, the guy who played Mads Mikkelsen's brother, I want to say. He's mainly known, most people know him as Thrawn from Star Wars, both in Rebels as the voice and now in Ahsoka and stuff. And he portrays a ship captain that's been hunted down, sees an explosion in the distance, and has been rescues Victor off the ice, and the monster comes there to try and track Victor down, and the captain starts trying to kill him, and then he explains his life, how like his mother died. He had a really close relationship with his mum, also played by Mia Goth. And he essentially, for want of a better word, had romantic feelings for his mother, from what I got from the film. And he essentially gets treated terribly by his dad, because his dad never thinks he's good enough. So he goes off to study and grow up and stuff like that. He goes to the Royal College of Surgeons in Edinburgh, gets expelled for reanimating his corpses, which they think is like against, well, it's sacrilege. I'm reading off Wikipedia, but it's essentially sacrilege. It goes against their Christian beliefs. But while there, he impresses Christoph Waltz, who's the Henrik Harlander, who's the father of Elizabeth, who Victor has a thing for, and he offers to fund his experiments into reanimating corpses and stuff, because he essentially thinks he'll make a lot of money off of it. And something else that you'll find out, you find out that essentially he's not very well, he has syphilis, and he wants to have his brain put into the monster's body, and that's why he keeps rushing Victor throughout the thing, because he's like, Victor, get it done, because I want to be in there. Yeah, it's Frankenstein. You know the story of Frankenstein. Mad scientist builds creature goes rogue, creature tries to kill scientist, tries to kill his father, and becomes thing. I'm not really explaining this that well, am I, tonight? But yeah, so that is Frankenstein. I really, obviously, as I say, set design, screenplay, costuming, and makeup. Makeup's a huge thing in this, obviously, for Elordi. That's why he got nominated. And yeah, I really enjoyed this. Is it fantastic? Is it the best thing that Del Toro's ever done? I would argue not. But if there was a movie that you're like, that should be a Guillermo del Toro movie, it's Frankenstein. So, so that's number 16. Let me move up to 15 now. So, another 9 out of 10, 4.5 star. Warfare. So, Alex Garland, who is mostly known for doing Ex Machina and stuff like that, but he also wrote, he's known for being a prolific writer, wrote 28 Days Later and 28 Weeks as well, I want to say, but especially 28 Days Later. He directed Civil War. Just bear with me, just need to sip my drink. He directed Civil War in 2024, which was a film that people thought was going to be about an American Civil War between the right and the left, but turned out to actually be about a civil war, but from the side of a journalist and a photographer, and their story at trying to capture the last moments of the president before he's deposed, because he's a dictatorial president played by Nick Offerman. The guy that was one of the stunt ADs on that and was teaching him how to use the guns was I can't remember the gentleman's name. Ray Mendoza. So essentially, Ray Mendoza was a Navy SEAL who was on set during production of Civil War. He was military supervisor. That's the word I was trying for all the military scenes in Civil War. He got talking to Alex Garland. Alex Garland, he said to him, "Do you think like you would have any stories?" They were talking about stuff, and they were like, "Do you think you would have any stories from when you were in the military that would make for a very good film?" Essentially, and they sat down, and he goes, "Well, there was this one day, and they wanted to do it essentially not in one take, but like a bottle story of a war movie, rather than like telling like this long form story over so many weeks and months and thingy. What is it actually like sitting with a platoon of SEALs while they do what they do for one mission, essentially?" And it's all done realistically. It's done to as realistically as possible. So that was the kind of hook with this film. It was based on obviously Ray Mendoza's real life testimonies that he had made, and this is essentially what one afternoon as a SEAL doing your job looks like. And it's fantastic. The sound design in this film is outstanding. Like the screams that happen, like when the explosions go off, the ring in the ear and things like that, bullets whooshing past you, the screams when people are being shot and like the blood spewing out and everything. It puts you there. That's the best way to describe it. It puts you in that room and with this bunch of guys while they fight it out against, for want of a better word, they commandeer this family's house to thingy, and there's terrorists or people that believe in the cause in the other houses there trying to take out the Americans, and shit goes wrong. They can sense that something's about to go wrong, and the cast in this, like, it's fantastic. You got Will Poulter as the lieutenant of, because you got two platoons, you follow the two platoons. Will Poulter, Cosmo Jarvis, who's the sniper, Kit Connor, who's one of the youngest members of the group. He was from Heartstopper. You've got Michael Gandolfini, James Gandolfini's son, who's great, and they got Joseph Quinn as well, who plays Eddie from Stranger Things and Johnny Storm in the new Fantastic Four. But the good thing about this is like you don't care about the actors, you care about the characters, even though you may not remember all their names. You strip that away and they essentially become these characters for 90 minutes. And they're all based on real people as well. That's one of the benefits of this script, is that it is not word for word, but it's realistic to what would actually happen. So Ray sat down there and like recounted his whole recounted this afternoon and wrote it as best he can and as realistically as he can, because obviously he was there. So he would know what people would speak like, what certain people would say, how certain people would speak in certain tones and things like that. And then also on the second platoon, you had Charles Melton and Noah Centineo. And it's one of those things where, like, yet again, this isn't one that I can really spoil, because they're sat there, the tense, something goes wrong, and then they're surrounded, and they have to try and get out with these tanks trying to come and rescue them, but stuff gets blown up, and trip mines go off, and whatever. It is the sound design that is the biggest hook for this. It's the script by Mendoza, it's the direction, the fact that it's actually based on a real mission that he actually went on as a SEAL, and things like that. And as I say, it's presented, this is an hour and a half of real time of these people in this war. This is another one that I say, just like Frankenstein, I've only seen it once. I saw this way back in April, May. So I don't remember everything about it, but it got a lot of buzz. A lot of people were very happy with it. A lot of people were also not very happy with it, because war films always feel like glorifying war. But yeah, no, I really enjoyed this film. I didn't enjoy it as much as others. I did feel like you say, the characters were a little bit flat, because they as I say, they kind of just drop you into it, and you just got to pick up on the ones that you kind of like. Not every character works, and not all war films are for me. So yeah, I think it's a really well made, really well put together film, which you expect from Garland and things like that. So yeah, there's not really much else to say when it comes to that one. Number 14. Now we're getting close to the top 10. Nosferatu. So I'm not the biggest horror guy, as many of you may know. I've never watched a Robert Eggers. Wow, no, I watched The Northman. I was not a big fan of The Northman. It didn't appeal to me like I wanted it to. It went more into the Norse kind of like tribes and the ceremonies and like the rituals and things like that, and it was weirder than I was expecting, because like Norse mythology and how the Vikings lived was quite different to how we see it today. Like, but I was expecting more of a blood and guts kind of like action film, and it wasn't that. And that's my fault for going into The Northman expecting that, because if you know Robert Eggers from The Lighthouse and The Witch and stuff like that, you know he doesn't make fast paced. I think he likes his horror elements. He likes his I don't want to say deviancy. I don't think deviancy is the right word. That's the first word that pops into my head. But he likes that type of stuff. So when I went into Nosferatu, I wasn't expecting to love it. I didn't like Northman. Horror's not really my genre. I do like certain horror elements in certain films, but horror's not my genre. And you know what? I loved this from minute one. Gorgeous to look at. Phenomenal performances, especially from Lily Rose Depp. Bill Skarsgård as Count Orlok. Like, he's unrecognisable. He's fantastic in it. The score, fantastic as well. By I don't know off the top of my head. I think that's another one I'm going to have to Google. Robin Carolan, fantastic score, especially a scene towards the end with Willem Dafoe when they're hunting around. So many scenes of like actual horror that were quite scary. All the stuff with Thomas Hutter, aka Nicholas Hoult, when he's in Orlok's mansion, the build up to it, the tenseness that you get that he gets into that film, like, it just ramps up and ramps up. You feel immersed in this story. That's the one thing I can say for Eggers, even with the Northman, like, you're just immersed in that story. He's very good at setting the scene, at atmospheric lighting, and he just fills his films with atmosphere that you feel like engaged in. And this whole film is just fantastic from start to front. You know the story in Nosferatu to a certain extent, because it's essentially the same story as Dracula. Obviously, it's based on Stoker's Dracula, so you've got like Mina Harker and stuff like that, which is essentially what these are supposed to be. Jonathan Harker and what have you. So you essentially know what's happening, but there's some horror twists on it. Like, there's a scene of Lily Rose where she's waiting for the Count to come back to her because she made the deal with the Count when she was younger, and he wants her to be his wife. He wants to be with her as a partner and stuff. And there's a lot of like sensuality. There's a lot of sexuality in how she feels for him and stuff like that. And obviously, in a time that was 1838 Germany, they were very repressed. Everything was very religious. So anybody outside of those lines that was more in touch with sexuality and sensuality and things like that was weird and outcast and ostracized and stuff like that. So seeing how they play with that, like the scene where like his hand reaches over the town and all the stuff with the rats and the people that start dying, it's just fantastic. He's very good at building out a world with a fantastic atmosphere that you just want to bite into. It just gets you so absorbed into it. And like when the horror scenes come on, like, I wouldn't say this is his scariest movie. I wouldn't say this film is that scary, realistically, but it's just a really good gothic tale with really interesting characters, really interesting lore. And they go back to like the lore, how he can die and things like that, but essentially he can't die until he's completed his mission, which is to be with Ellen. And that's why Thomas is supposed to go out to Count Orlok and deal with that, because he essentially wants to get rid of him. And he wakes up with like bite marks in his skin and stuff like that. Nicholas Holt's fantastic in this, by the way, as well. Nicholas Holt, like, he really sells the fear. Skarsgård's voice, he just completely disappears into that role. I thought Aaron Taylor Johnson was good as well. I'm not going to say his role was particularly fantastic or memorable or anything, but he was good as kind of like Thomas's friend who wants to do well, but while Thomas is away, Ellen starts doing weirder and weirder things and having nightmares and night terrors and stuff like that, and he thinks she should just get over it and whatever. And Emma Corrin as well, as stuff with like her pregnancy and stuff that goes a bit weird. But yeah, I honestly thought like it was great for what it is. It got me absorbed. I'm not the biggest horror guy, but it got me interested. Obviously, the cinematography, the music, the set design, the makeup, especially on Skarsgård, all that, just so on point. He just absolutely nails it every single time. And this is Robert Eggers' biggest movie as well. This is the biggest box office he's ever had, considering he's a smaller indie horror guy, more lent towards horror. But yeah, it's just great. Exactly what I wanted when I watched it. It's another one that I need to watch again because I've only seen it once. But yeah, I loved it. So yeah, let's move on. 13. So this is going to be a pretty controversial one, I think, because I love the original How to Train Your Dragon. I think the first film is a 10 out of 10 animated classic that just stands the test of time. My biggest problem with it is that the animation doesn't hold up as well as it does. So a lot of people have said, instead of putting money into this live action remake, why don't you remaster the original? It's been talk about that with Toy Story for years and stuff like that, because go back and watch Toy Story now, the story still holds up, and a lot of the beats still hold up, and everything else still holds up, but the animation looks a little bit janky now compared to like stuff shot on film in the 70s, which still looks different, but like, I would say Star Wars still holds up today, still looks fantastic, whereas the animation for that, similar to like computer graphics, you look at a game from now and a game from 20 years ago, and they look like two completely different games. And like, they do game remasters all the time. I don't get why we don't have remasters of animated classics. But besides the point, I love the first one, I love the second one, and I love the third one. I think it's a perfect trilogy, even though people do tend to dislike the third one more. The Hidden World. I really like all three. I think 2 is one of the best animated films ever made. First one definitely is up there, but I like what they do with 2 a little bit more. And yeah, this is essentially a shot-for-shot remake. There's not much else to say. So for some people, that is completely creatively bankrupt. Shouldn't be on this list at all. It should be at the bottom because they're essentially recycling the same thing. And I would say to that, you're exactly right. But it's the same film. It's the same film that I love. The same characters. Acted really well. Done in live action. Does it look better in live action? No. Do the performances still hold up? Yeah. I think Mason Thames is fantastic as Hiccup. I think Nico Parker as Astrid. Great. Rough Nut and Tough Nut, I thought were good. I liked Gillian Dennison as Fish Legs. And I thought the guy that they got to play Snot Out, good. All good. Obviously, the main draw was Gerard Butler, coming back as Stoic. Thought he was really good. He brought exactly the same energy that he had from the first film. The music, John Powell used a lot of the same score from the original film, like Test Drive and things like that you were expecting. Yeah, for some people, this is going to be, why does this need to exist? We got the original. And I agree. But considering it's exactly the same film, executed pretty much the same, shot for shot, same music, same everything, just in live action. The dragons look the same. Toothless still feels as amazing as ever. His vulnerableness with Hiccup, his bond with Hiccup, everything. The peaks and valleys, the gorgeous place that they chose to film, stuff like that. Like Burke looks amazing. Like I can't not, as me, be disingenuous and say, oh well, just because it's live action, it shouldn't be good. It's the same film. I really enjoyed it. But I'm repeating myself now, but yeah, that's what I expected. Like, what else did you really expect? It's going to be the same film. And I love the same film. There's not really much else I can add on to that, personally. I just put it at top 30. It can't go any higher because it isn't original. But I still get them same moments with Test Drive. I was crying my eyes out. The stuff with Stoic, where like him learning to accept his son the way he is rather than how he expects him to be, still hits me the same. The stuff with Astrid when she says like, so what would you do? Like the scenes with Astrid when he's bonding with Astrid towards the end, and the line that she comes out that always escapes me. I'm gonna do like something really dumb. Well, you've already tried that. I can't remember what it is. I'm gonna have to look it up. I'm trying to remember what it is now. Continue to cite. Where is it? God, dude. Yeah, they're probably. So what are you gonna do now? And when they're sat on that mound of grass, just looking over the sea at Burke and talking to each other and having that bond, still works for me. Still makes me emotional. The bit where like you say, so what are you gonna do now? Probably something stupid. Well, you've already done that. So something crazy. Yeah, that's more like it. Like, it's one of the best quotes in that whole film. Like, just all of it. It lands. Yeah, that's and then something crazy. That's more like it. Like, all of it lands for me. It landed just as well as it did. Back then, and yeah, like the bit before where she goes, "I'm the person I am today because of you. I never told you that, but it's true. You're the bravest, smartest, most determined knucklehead I know. Toothless didn't give you that. He just made it easy." I think that's from the first film. Like, oh no, it's from. I'm reading stuff off Reddit. I do apologise. Need to get my facts right. Usually I'm pretty good at fact checking, but not today. Yeah, it was just good. I really enjoyed it, and I am much anticipating the sequel now that Kate Blanchett's coming back as well to play his mum, Volker, to play Volker. Like, even more excited now. So, yeah, you may disagree. That's fine. It's my list, and that's where I chose to put it. Next up, number 12, another 9.5 out of 10. Getting towards the top 10 now. Black Bag. So, just a really intelligent Steven Soderbergh spy film. It's got a fantastic script that's witty, that knows its stuff, that gets all the spy lingo, but doesn't make it too overly hard to explain. The story is really intriguing. There's a lot of twists and turns. You're trying to find out who the mole is, like you always do in these like kind of spy movies and stuff. But it's just really well executed. Looks gorgeous. Fassbender is just on fire the whole time. He embodies George like down to the letter. Obviously, like he feels like a completely different person. Not more shy, reserved, nerdy, like stuff like that works. Blanchett's fantastic in it. It's just really intelligent. Is the word that I use for it. It's smart, it's sleek, it's intelligent, it has great dialogue, fantastic characters that even though you don't remember all their names, are great. That dinner table scene, the first one and the last one, excellent. How they play off each other, like everybody's got something to hide, and the DZM or whatever it is that they put in, George puts in the drink, and they will start telling the truth and stuff happens and fantastic scene. I could just sit and watch that dinner table scene for a whole hour and a half, just people talking to each other and trying to keep secrets from each other, but struggling to because they've got a truth serum, and just great filmmaking. Like, Soderbergh can be really hit or miss. Sometimes you really like a Soderbergh film, sometimes you don't. I love Logan Lucky. I love the Ocean's films. Trying to think of other ones that I've seen of his. Magic Mike's a good film. No Sudden Move I didn't really like. Kimmy wasn't too bad, but I didn't really enjoy that much. So like he can be, he's always usually really good and obviously champion of independent cinema, but I don't know, like sometimes he's hit and miss. This one was really good. It's one of the best of the year. If you like intelligent spy thrillers where people are trying to hide secrets from each other, you don't really know who the true mole is or whatever. You like sophisticated performances, great direction, great cinematography, like pans in and Dutch angles and things like that. It's really well done. And I love myself a good spy movie, so of course I'm down for this. Alright, Just Missing Out, number 11. Predator Badlands. So, as I said earlier with Killer of Killers, I loved this film. This film is made for me from the ground up. Sci-fi, action, buddy cop, deep lore, interesting characters. Now, yet again, not a complex plot. guy, predator, runt of the litter, gets confronted by his father. It trains with his brother. His brother tries to look out for him. His dad, being a predator, tries to kill off the weak. Tries to kill his son. The brother defends him. Son gets stranded. Deck gets stranded. Gets sent to a planet to hunt down his prey, because obviously you have to hunt a prey down to become part of the Predator clan, to become part of your clan essentially. His brother gets killed. He gets sent there, and he's hunting down the biggest, baddest creature, because he's the smallest guy. He's more of a runt of the litter. He wants to prove himself. So he tries to take out the biggest thing he can. Lands on planet, meets Elle Fanning. As Thea. Meets Thea. She's so good in this. She's so charismatic. She's entertaining. She's energetic. She brings a really bubbly energy to this. She's trying to find her sister, Tessa, who's been damaged, and they're hunting down. He goes there to hunt down the Kalisk, which has killed other predators and things before. And essentially, it's similar to like Kong Skull Island, just in like future scientific. Guy gets sent there, and he has to learn from the land and learn from the things around him and all that, with obviously Thea's help. He sees Thea as a tool. Thea tries to trick him. Thea essentially does trick him the whole time. And yeah, he tries to hunt down the Kalisk. Learns from the village around him, has to fight the land and learn to tame it and stuff as a predator. And then eventually tries to take out the Kalisk. And obviously, like, we've built in the alien side of things with Weyland-Yutani synths, which is where what do you call it? Why is that showing up? Why am I? Oh, did it on the wrong screen. Do apologise. Showing Wikipedia on the wrong screen. But yeah, so Predator, like, it is a simple plot, but you really like Deck. He's a lovable hero as a predator, which I didn't think would work, because the predators have always been the bad guys, obviously. And the predators work better as the monster hunting from the shadows. But for this franchise to continue forward, we need to try new things. And if I trust anybody to do this stuff, it's Trachtenberg. As I said earlier, he just understands the predator world. He gets the logic. He understands it. He's done a really interesting way of trying to do an Alien versus Predator again by having Weyland-Yutani synths in a Predator movie. And then obviously there's a reference to Mother from the first Alien film and things like that. And it's just a really entertaining action film with great sci-fi elements, adds plenty to the lore, which I didn't know about Yautja culture, and the score, by the way, from Sarah Schuckner and I can't remember who else was on it with her. Benjamin Wallfish, fantastic. I don't know what they use, but the electronic kind of like tribal sounding theme, tribal sounding like score, with all the sound effects and all that is fantastic. Obviously, Schuckner did the score for Prey, and also she's done the Modern Warfare games before as well. Just really immerses you in it. It just does. They're all fantastic. There's not really much else that I can say on top of that, because this is one that, if I could say to anybody, if there's like a Transformers 1 of the year that would please everybody, would get people interested in a new franchise, it's essentially baby's first Predator movie for people that can't watch 80s stuff. This is it. If you don't like Predator after this film, because this is the most like crowd pleasing, close, like, I wouldn't say an MCU film, but like feels most like something like that a general audience would get involved with. If you can't get on with this film, I don't think there is any chance that you would ever get on with anything Predator. I just don't think you'd have any interest. This this is the way I would introduce the Predator franchise to my friends, if they hadn't already seen the original. I just think it's just really cool, for want of a better word. It's just cool. They did it on a really tight budget. It made its money back. Deck is a really interesting protagonist that you feel for, but also has some cool ass action scenes. He's intelligent, but he doesn't always necessarily get to show off his intelligence until towards the end. Thea's great. Her bubbly personality is fantastic, and like obviously she plays Tessa as well. Elle Fanning, who's like her sister, but like the darker version. And yeah, just cool sci-fi action movie. And sadly, it just misses out on my top 10. So speaking of my top 10, in comes number 10. Another 9.5 out of 10. Almost a perfect film for me. Wake Up Dead Man. So I love the Knives Out trilogy now. I think the first one's still the best one. Then I'll probably put this one in second, and then Glass Onion in third. Not that I don't like Glass Onion, but for me it went a bit too glitz and glam. With obviously the cast and like the Glass Onion stuff, it felt the most like an Agatha Christie murder mystery of a bunch of rich people getting together and finding out. Not that they were all rich, but like I love that the murder mystery is back. Like Rian Johnson is essentially keeping the murder mystery genre alive single-handedly. Every single one of his films is interesting, engaging, has great characters, even if they're not necessarily think they all feel like different individuals. The script is always solid. It always looks gorgeous. The score is fantastic as well. Really quirky and kooky things. Sounds, but really gets in there. Daniel Craig is fantastic as Blanc. You get so much more from Benoit Blanc in this than you did in either of the other two. Learning about his life and who he is and stuff like that. Josh O'Connor is Jed, the preacher who's sent to this parish to essentially get it better because the leader of the parish is essentially preaching evangelicalism and God overall, and it's very much a parody of right-wing evangelical Christians, which is why a lot of them got upset with it. And how small-minded people can be, and how, one charismatic person can enthrall everybody under their spell. It's got a really intriguing mystery. Everyone plays their parts perfectly. Glenn Close is fantastic. Josh Brolin is such a knob in this, and I love him for it. The gentleman who plays Sandman in Spider-Man, whose name always forgets me, Thomas Hayden Church. Really interesting as a groundskeeper. They do like the recurring joke of him just watching Jed and Thingy from away, and his relationship with Glenn Close's character. I did think they kind of underused Kaylee Spaney a little bit for what she was in it, because obviously she's now a breakout name and stuff. I really liked I can't remember his name now. His name is escaping me again. Not Jed, Judd Duplantis. Mila Kunis, I thought she played a really good cop. I thought she was great at Geraldine. Renner had some really fun moments, and obviously a lot to do with the main story. Kerry Washington was great. I love that they all kind of got like backstories and stuff that you kind of empathise with. Just like if you like the other Knives Out movies, you're gonna love this one. You know what to expect. High production value, Rian Johnson quirks. Craig as Benoit Blanc is just like fantastic. This one feels a lot more like the first Knives Out because of the sympathetic lead. Like, I think, even though I like Glass Onion, I don't think particularly Janelle Monáe was the most sympathetic kind of lead, like in helping Blanc investigate the mystery. Like, you really feel for Anna de Armas in that first film. And how much she really liked Christopher Plummer's character, and how Marta was kind of like really cared, and like, and they start squabbling about that he's left all his fortune to her and stuff like that. I just really like these films. We don't get that many of them. They look gorgeous, they sound gorgeous, they're well written. There's not much else to say, really. I'm shocked this didn't get nominated at the Oscars, but what are you going to do? They've already I swear they nominated the first Knives Out or Glass Onion, one or the other. But they're always highly critically loved. Most people love them as well. Yeah, sometimes they can be a bit too jokey, or sometimes like Rian Johnson's humour doesn't necessarily work as well as it probably could. But they're just fun. I'm going to put it on and just have a laugh and get intrigued in the murder mystery. And that's what you really want from these films. I do wish Rian Johnson would make other stuff eventually. I'm hoping he'll like maybe make one more or two, and then move on to doing something else. Same with like Avatar with Cameron, because Cameron with Avatar, sorry. Just because like they're just fantastic directors, and they just kind of like bound themselves to this one thing. So yeah, that's my thoughts on that anyway. Let's move on to number 9. Number 9 is F1. So 9.5 out of 10 as well. Almost perfect. As I said when we were speaking about Tron Ares, and I spoke a lot about Legacy, I love Joseph Kosinski's movies. This got nominated for the Oscars today. Got nominated for a couple of categories. I can see why. It's a non-stop action thrill ride. I used to be a huge F1 fan. Now, I'm not saying it's fully accurate. If you ask most F1 fans, they're probably saying, meh, you didn't really get a lot of it right. It just feels like typical Hollywood kind of got the concept, but decided to do their own thing because they thought it would sell better as a movie. Obviously, Apple TV put a lot of money into this. They trusted Kosinski, which they should after Maverick. I never really disliked a Kosinski film. Only the Brave is great. Tron Legacy is great. There's not really much else I can say. And obviously, when this decade's all said and done, Maverick's going to be one of its favourite, if not the biggest movie of the decade. It just is. And obviously he did a little bit on Twisters. Spiderhead was not a good film, which was the only other film that I've seen of his that I didn't like. Oblivion, great. Like, I was having a quick look through Kosinski stuff. Like, there's not been a Kosinski film apart from Spiderhead that I've disliked. He just gets old school, big budget blockbuster filmmaking. All of his films feel like events. It feels like he does research into it. He gets how to put the camera, and especially in this, how to feel speed. Like in the last film, in Maverick, he actually made you feel like a jet pilot. The script was tight. The direction was tight. The ideas to put the cameras in the jets and things like that was fantastic. It just made you so much more immersed and made the action feel heavier. And it's the same with F1. The way they make you feel the speed of the cars, you feel like you're in that F1 car. When the engine revs on and like the DRS stuff happens and things like that, it just feels in it. It's just adrenaline packed, adrenaline fueled. It's got an old school story. I'm not gonna lie, that the old school, the old head who tried to make it as a pro but never made it and just decided to go do something else that was less as big. He gets invited back. He fights with the rookie, the hot upstart rookie. They bicker, but eventually the veteran learns to let go a little bit and to enjoy stuff a little bit more because of spending time with the rookie, and gets his energy back. The rookie learns to become a lot more intelligent, kind of learns the ways of the road, learns the ropes essentially from the veteran, and kind of deflates his ego a little bit. And you know where it's going to go. It's typical 3-act structure and stuff. I'm not saying the story is particularly compelling, but it just brings back old school vibes. Like whatever he does with the soundtrack sounds fantastic. Proper summer film, dad film. Great actors, great script. Got a gimmick with the F1 stuff, like in the fast cars and everything. Story you've seen a million times, but done differently. Yeah, it's just really well done. Like Kosinski just gets how to make these big budget blockbusters that appeal to everybody. They get people in the cinema, and they also feel artistic. You can't accuse him of selling out. I've never accused him of selling out. Like he could have done whatever he wanted with Tron Legacy, and he made one of the best movies of the last decade. To me, right? He could have done whatever he wanted with Only the Brave, and he made it feel like his. Maverick, same. Nobody thought a Top Gun sequel was gonna do well, right? And yet he just got the vibe, got the nostalgia vibe of that. Understood the assignment, got a really tight script put together, and just really knows how to direct the hell out of his movie. Knows what shots are important. The cockpit shots, the shots of Maverick on his thingy, the beach shot in Maverick where he's like obscured in shadow. Knows how to ramp up the tension. Knows how to edit. It's got fantastic editing in this as well, like how they cut the shots together with the car, the racing, and like somehow they're cutting around, doing like some logic cuts and things like that to make it still feel like it logically fits, but somehow manages to keep the pace up. It's just an absolute adrenaline fueled blast from start to finish. One of Brad Pitt's best films in a long time. Damson Idris in it is fantastic as well. So is I forget her name now. Irish lady. Where's she gone? Kerry Condon. Kerry Condon's fantastic. And like she's obviously his love interest and stuff, and like she's a woman that doesn't want to just be seen. That she wants to get there on merit and show people that she knows what she's talking about, rather than just being like a, not diversity hire, but you get my drift. Like she wants to prove that she's actually there, that actually belongs there and things like that, and she has that kind of chip on her shoulder that she has to prove herself all the time, which really works. And then Javier Bardem as Ruben, like the owner of the team, great. And it's just you by the end of it, you're just pumping your fist, just like, yes, this is the type of thing I love watching. I still want to pick the Blu-ray up for this one. If Apple keeps making movies like this and puts them in the cinema like they have been, all due respect to Apple, like they deserve the flowers for stuff like this and the films that they put in the actual cinema, because they don't have to put films in the cinema. They just put them out on Apple TV Plus. That's what Netflix would do. But yeah, so that was F1. Number 8, Thunderbolts. Asterisk, which we now know the asterisk is obviously New Avengers. Fantastic film. Didn't have any doubts. As soon as they announced that the director was the guy that did Beef, which was obviously highly acclaimed, I had a lot of hope in this film. Jake Schreier is Beef in it. Yeah. And obviously he'd done Paper Towns before, so a director that's mostly known, I want to say, for music videos, yes. But I heard really good things about Beef, especially the direction. This was obviously a project that people didn't really care about when it was announced. Marvel Suicide Squad, right? Each of these characters, I want to say, are liked, but aren't loved. I would say out of the group of them, Yelena is the most enjoyed. Obviously, like Bucky as well. Bucky and Yelena are kind of the lead too. But out of this crew, I think people resonate the most with Yelena and Bucky. Right? we've had a lot of stuff with Bucky throughout the years. We obviously had the films, and then we've had Falcon and Winter Soldier, or Captain America and Winter Soldier. I just really like these getting the teams together, team dynamic stuff. I thought there's going to be a lot more bickering, but it added to the lore. Yeah, again, like Captain America did, added to the world, set some stuff up. The stuff with Sentry is some of the most affecting stuff I've had all year, like with his depression and how they actually show it, and the void and everything. Fantastically done. He totally gets it, and like how Bob relates with Yelena, because Yelena's going through the same thing because she lost a sister and grief and things like that. It's a film about grief and loss and thingy that is beautifully done, and if it wasn't a Marvel movie and wasn't an action movie, it could quite easily be one of the best dramas of the year. They just understand, obviously, like, that's saying a lot, because if you stripped away the action of it, would it still be a Marvel movie? Or if you stripped away the Marvel of it, of course it wouldn't. But what I'm saying is the dramatic scenes in this just are some of the best of the year. You get a real family dynamic. It feels like the first Avengers again, with the family coming together. Because, like, yeah, the action's cool. Yeah, everything else is cool. The explosions and whatever. But the most important thing with this is the family, the characters. Each person feels like a distinct character. Alexei feels like his own character, which feels different from Bucky, which feels different from Ghost, which feels different from John Walker. Like, they give John Walker a lot more to do, and I love how they play into the void, where like each person's in their worst nightmare and having to fight through their worst nightmare and things like that. I love what they do with Val. I can't remember her name then. Val. I loved what they did with Val. I think she really adds to this world as like somebody that isn't like Ross, and kind of feels more like Amanda Waller. Kind of feels like the government representative that'll do anything to make sure the world is safe, but always does it from like a dirty position, if that makes sense. Just a lot of the wrong things because those decisions have to be made to save the world, but you don't really like them. You can see their point of view, but you don't like them, and they're always the best villains. Like Thanos, you could see where he was coming from, but how can you justify killing off that many people for thingy? It's the same with, she's a lot more corporate than Amanda Waller. It feels like she's doing stuff for profits, and that's why you probably dislike her a lot more than Amanda Waller. Amanda Waller is a tool of the government. Yes, Val works for the government, but she feels like she's more of a tool of big business, and she uses her government privilege to essentially do whatever she can to help the company that she works for. Genuinely, one of the better scripted films of the year for Marvel. Realistically, this would probably go up to a 10 out of 10. This is another one that I've only seen once or twice, I want to say. I really enjoyed it upon both viewings. The action is spectacular. The void stuff at the end is, for it not to be a big action film and just to be about like this group of people coming together and fighting for a cause together, and fighting through their pain by bonding. Like, that's how most people get through depression and stuff like that, is by the help of the people that are around them. Like, if you're struggling, reaching out to the people that are around you, getting it off your chest, feeling people. Like, physical touch is a big thing in this film as well, because like everybody feels so distanced for a lot of it, and then towards the end they're all like on top of each other and hugging each other, and like Yelena runs to Bob and hugs him at the end, and like it's just so well done, written fantastically well, directed. I love a lot of the choices with Void, with Sentry. I love a lot of the costume choices. Like Yelena's hair in this is now just like iconic. Her whole look is just iconic. less said about Taskmaster, probably the better, for obvious reasons. And then obviously the tie-in towards the end with the post-credit scene of them essentially being new Avengers and what that means for Doomsday and stuff. It's just fantastic. It's not going to be everybody's cup of tea, but I love Marvel. I love when they do more introspective stuff, when they deal with their characters more and less on the action, and when they deal with their characters more seriously. Not everybody has to be joke exposition or jokey. Deadpool works for, Ant-Man works for. For me, Thor shouldn't be the type of guy that pops around jokes every 5 minutes. Alexei, it makes sense. He should be the comic relief in this. But the other characters should be taken seriously. They are assassins. I'm not saying John doesn't have the odd one-liner or Yelena doesn't have the odd one-liner or whatever. But they treat these characters seriously. It feels like this has been in development. This is the thing that they wanted to make. Whereas with Captain America, they retooled a lot and changed things because they wanted to change how the MCU was looking and stuff. This feels connected to the world. There's a post-credit scene that isn't teasing a film 10 years down the line and teases a film that's coming out, well, next year, this year. I really, really enjoyed it. And I'm glad, like, this year we've had 3 really good superhero movies, 2 of which we're going to talk about a little bit later. So let's move on to number 7. So, Complete Unknown. So this is a film that I had no anticipation for, apart from the fact that it's James Mangold. I always like Mangold. I always think he does really, really good biopics. Obviously, they walk the line, gets cash and stuff. But I've seen this film like 3 times now, and for me, it is one of the best music biopics. Chalamet completely embodies Dylan. I'm not the biggest Dylan guy, but for me, he felt like Dylan. From what I've seen of Dylan, what I've heard of Dylan, he felt like it, and it just felt like an epic journey through Dylan's life. Everybody gets a scene. Everybody gets something to do, whether it's Seeger. I love that they keep coming back to Woody Guthrie with Scoot McNairy and like with his illness and stuff. I love that they go for the Joan Baez stuff. It just feels like the Dylan biopic, and obviously like the ending is supposed to be about Dylan going electric and moving away from folk and doing electric folk and being experimental and people gatekeeping. A lot of this film has to do with people gatekeeping and people telling Bob what folk music should be, and how his artistic expression should be limited to this. And because he's such a big icon, pop culture icon in the folk music world, him making a statement and going electric and bringing in electric instruments and stuff like electric guitars and whatever, it was like a pivotal moment. Like, we gone through just one guy on acoustic warbling to now full band and everything. Like, and I get why people are upset. Like, people hate it when other people sell out, but sometimes artists have got to do what they need to do and express themselves in the way that they need to express themselves. Now, is this a paint-by-numbers biopic, like a lot of the stuff that's on here? Like, this just feels like a very simple plot. You could kind of tell what my favourite stuff is. Simple plot, great characters, interesting history lesson. Now, I'm not saying everything in this is accurate. It ain't going to be. But you really get to understand Bob Dylan, the singer, and Bob Dylan, the man. You get to understand why he was the way he was. You don't get all of his backstory. You don't get to learn about his childhood and what have you. But you learn the important stuff. His relationship with Sylvie, Elle Fanning. Great. Elle Fanning's been killing it this year with this and Death Stranding 2 and Badlands, and she's been in something else as well off the top of my head. I just really got on board with this. I love the music of it. It definitely does feel like the most standard biopic that you'll probably see. It's nothing like Elvis, which is kind of like a music video of Elvis's life. This has an idea, a theme in it of Like I say, gatekeeping, what music should be, um, who's allowed to artistically express themselves, things like that. Um, and I just really enjoyed it. I thought Chalamet, as I say, was great. The direction was pretty bog standard. Like a lot of it is blocked, like you expect, person in the middle of the screen, simple shots. But I think this is kind of made in the edit. This film, like the momentum's kept up in the edit, everything's kept up in the edit. And yeah, like yeah, another film really enjoyed. 9.5 out of 10. Right, and up to the top 5 almost. So number 6, this is a film. Yeah, again, only seen it once. Haven't had a chance to see it again because it's so bloody long. Avatar: Fire and Ash. My story of Avatar. I don't love the first one. I've grown on it, but it felt very derivative of like white savior stuff. Pocahontas, Dances with Wolves. I'm trying to think of others now off the top of my head. But like white man goes into tribe, learns the ways of said tribe or group of people, becomes one with them, with this indigenous culture, and decides to fight against his own culture because they're racist and whatever, without actually taking into consideration his views and judgment and what have you. And he gets let off very easily in the end for the stuff that he does. It's a pretty simple plot again, but obviously everybody loved it because of the spectacular 3D. 2, I had a complete change around on. Since introducing the kids, took Loak, Natayam, Kiri, Spider as well. I'm trying to remember who else I'm forgetting. I think that's all of them. The kids, I really like the kids. Obviously Natayam's death was sad. All the stuff with Kiri and Grace, great. Building out the lore of the Tulkun and the ocean people and stuff like that in the second one. I'm much more of an ocean preservationist than I am a forest preservationist. Not that I don't agree with both, but I've always been fascinated by the ocean. Ocean and space, two of my favourite things. So space, oceans, all right in my book. And the scene where the predator boat, or whatever they call it, is hunting the Tulkun, still makes me sad. Well, the calf sat there like wailing, like next to their mother. That was not a pun. Just gets me, and I really enjoyed where they left off the last film. So going into this, I was pretty excited, and I'm not going to lie, somebody else said it. I think it might have been Griffin Schiller of I always forget Film Speak, I think it is. Yeah, he said it feels like Avatar at World's End rather than Endgame, and I kind of got to agree. The way it kind of sets itself out, like with them still with the ocean people, and then learning about the Fire Clan with what is his name escaping me now? Stephen Lang. Why is his name not coming to me? Quaritch. All the stuff with Quaritch and Spider, and it's just a lot darker entry. Obviously, like Jake and Natiri are still mourning Natayam's loss, so they're a lot more bitter. They really deal with racism in this one, where like Natiri hates Spider, especially because of his relation to Quaritch and stuff like that. And I like how Kiri can kind of control through Awa, control Pandora, and obviously like Spider, as you see in the trailer, gets his own tentacle thing. I can't remember what you call them. He gets his own hang on, let me have a look. The neural kill. Okay, so like connect like the rest of them do, and so obviously this is a big plot point of if humans can learn to live and breathe on Pandora without masks and stuff, they can essentially colonize the planet and get rid of the Navi. It's a lot darker a chapter. Everything with Quaritch and where Varang, great. Everything with the Manquan clan, the fire people, fantastic. I love that Quaritch just carries around Lyle Waverley. It's just as like personal assassin. I just sat there with the sniper shot and stuff. I love that he now kind of gets his like darker version of Jake's acceptance into the Na'vi, but his comes from like a fire warrior death cult rather than from the accepting like forest people in the Na'vi and stuff. Just like their stories are essentially on mirrored paths, and I really like that. I also like what they do with the kids. Like obviously Kiri gets a lot more to do. She learns how to control like Awa and stuff in this. Loak obviously has his journey. The scene with his brother in the beginning where they're flying on the banshees made me tear up, and how he still feels guilt for the death of his brother, and his dad essentially does blame him for it. They get really dark, and then obviously like once Spider's healed after the take Spider back to his people because Neytiri doesn't want him there anymore, and they go with the Wind Traders, and David Thewlis looks just like him, his avatar. Palak. And then obviously they get ambushed by the Manquan, and the kids have to run away from the Fire Clan because they're chopping off people's their ponytails. I can't really call them. I don't know all the lore of Avatar, but chopping them off and killing them and stuff and hunting them down. And it just gets really dark in this chapter. I like what they do. Now, I will say the third act essentially steals the third act from the second film. It feels very similar, but just bigger because there's more people there, more clans, more humans, the Fire Clan, everything. It just feels like it's all out war, like World's Ended. Cameron said if this doesn't make money, he's going to do 4 and 5 in like a press conference and tell everybody the story. I think it's made enough now that we will probably get 4 and 5. It's not as made as much as 2, but we didn't think it would. I always estimated to probably do about 1.5, and it's not far off of 1.3. So, I really enjoyed this one. Now, this could probably go down eventually because I need to see it a second time, and maybe it won't hold up as well in the second time. But I liked what they did with the kids. Loak's grief over his brother, Kiri and Spider and their relationship and stuff like that. What Jake's going through with the loss of his son and having to like comfort Neytiri, but Neytiri's kind of like racist ways, which is mad to say, because she forgets that Jake also used to be a human and stuff. That was a big struggle. Her battle with the Banshee, like against the Manquan, when they're in the when Jake gets captured and frees himself and stuff. When he gets captured and turns himself in Bridgehead City, great. All of it. I really enjoyed the first 2 acts. Yeah, it's very long. Yes, I was knackered by the end of it, and maybe I wasn't as critical as I probably would be. And like I say, maybe it'll drop down the more and more I think about it, and once I watch it again, once it's on Disney Plus. But yeah, again, that's the second Avatar movie that I've loved. So yeah. Anyway, now we're into the important stuff. We're into the top 5. Where are we? So number 5 was the third and final Marvel movie of the year, Fantastic Four. So this movie has grown on me and grown on me and grown on me the more I've watched it. I've watched it about 4 times now. each and every time, I just really enjoy it. I enjoy the family dynamic. I think Pedro, Joseph, Vanessa, and Eben, they're perfect. The Thing has been the most Thing I've seen since like the animated show. I think he just nails it. Now I would have preferred makeup, but I ain't complaining. But just everything with Galactus, it's a big sci-fi extravaganza. It's all about wormholes and sci-fi spaceships and Galactus's planet eating and his big spaceship and the fact that it's a 60s period piece but retro futuristic and how they build out the world. And just like Superman, like the Fantastic Four already existed on this world. We don't have to have the origin story again. No, they kind of like set up some things and explain it at the beginning, and we learn about Mole Man, and we learn about all the different villains that they've had, like the Red Ghost and all the other ones. But obviously the key to this is the family, and they feel like a family. They have great moments together. Julia Garner as Shalabal, fantastic. I love the fact that Johnny's not just an idiot. He's actually crucial to defeating Galactus. I love that Vanessa Kirby is an active, and Sue is an active member of the team. She is the, yes, she comforts and she supports, but when she needs to, she steps in. She is the most powerful member of the four. So, like, of course she's going to protect her child. Of course she's going to step in and, like, try and defeat Galactus. Like, she's not as passive as like, Jessica Alba was in those films. Like, she didn't really have a character. Like, for all the things that you can complain about Sue in this film, she has a character. Like, she is a caregiver. She is thingy, but like, she's different things to different people. Like, she's she needs to be. Reed is a panicker, so he needs somebody solid next to him. So Sue stands next to him and make sure everything's thought of and make sure everything's looked after for him. Not treating him like a child, but giving him the space that he needs and helping him do what he needs to do. So with Johnny, it's obviously the sister-brother relationship, so she teases him and things like that, but she actually really cares for Johnny in this. Whereas, like, I felt like in the other films, Sue doesn't really like her brother that much. Whereas in this one, he's great. Like, he's not just like an airheaded idiot. He's actually intelligent. He actually had to qualify to go to space. Like, that's what I like that they did with this. Not that I didn't like Chris Evans' portrayal of Johnny, but he's actually intelligent. Like, the Thing feels more like the Thing. He doesn't feel as filled with rage as Michael Chiklis' one was. He's kind of come to terms with the fact that he's the Thing now. And you can do a lot more with that. Now, I'm not saying he doesn't have his moments of sadness and reflection and what have you, but he feels much more like the hero from the Thingy rather than the guy still dealing with the fallout of getting his powers. Which is why I like that they did this film a couple of years after they've become the Four. But yeah, Sue is the one behind the scenes. She's the one always helping, comforting people, doing the right thing. Like, it wasn't Reed, the smart one, the intelligent one. It wasn't Ben. It was the diplomat, Sue, that got Harvey Moleman, Harvey Elder, and I've clicked on the wrong thing again, and Subterranea on their side. She's the one that brokers the peace when Galactus invades. Like, she's got all these different roles: caregiver, caretaker, mother, wife, sister, and like, each role she has to actually adapt. That's why I feel like she's an actual character, right? Whereas in the other ones, she was just like there to look good looking and to say a couple of like scientific lines. Like, as much as I like Jessica Alba, that's it. Like, it gets the sci-fi space rump that Fantastic Four always is. Fantastic Four hardly ever set foot on Earth, and that's why I like that they go in the Excelsior and go and explore and go to Galactus's planet and all that. And post-credit scene, yet again, for Doomsday. Makes sense. Everything in this film really works. And for people that are saying that, well, Galactus isn't really that big of a villain, Galactus has always been a Fantastic Four villain. They always figure out a way to stop him themselves. That's what they've always done. So yeah, overall, I really enjoyed it. I loved Herbie. I thought Herbie was cute. I loved all the stuff with Shadowbell and her community and like kind of thing with Johnny. I loved how they intelligently beat Silver Surfer and Galactus. But in the end, it was more of a pure brawn thing. Sue essentially stopped him. The more and more I sit with this, I love the costuming. I love the 60s feel. I love how the four feel like an actual family. I love what they did with Franklin. I love how they finally brought the correct Galactus to screen rather than that fart cloud from Rise of the Silver Surfer. I love how they did Shadowbell, because they can essentially do Nor and Rad now in the main 616 in our, or whatever the MCU's timeline designation is. It just nailed it for me. That's why it gets a 10 out of 10. This is the type of stuff I love. This is the stuff I'm into. I've always liked Fantastic Four. I like when they do spacefaring, sci-fi, Star Trek, Star Wars stuff. Talking to aliens, meeting new species, whatever. Like, this is what I love. And they just nailed it. Honestly. Matt Shackman obviously did WandaVision, which I really enjoyed. He just, again, nails it. What else can you ask for? Perfect Fantastic Four film in my eyes. But yeah, there you go. Yeah, I'm not saying that there aren't things that they can work on, stuff in future. And for me personally, I tend to rate these individually and then collate a list from what I felt and try and compare my emotions and my feelings rather than looking at stuff critically. I'm not a critic. I never have been a critic. I don't like looking at things critically. That's what other people are out there for, people who have gone to university and trained for it. I only tell you what I feel and what I enjoyed. And there you go. Number 4. So Sony Animation are on a bit of a run at the minute. Obviously, you've got this and Spider-Verse and Mitchell's vs. the Machines, but Sony Animation hasn't made a bad film in a very long time. So at least in the 2020s. So you got Fixed, which, okay, kind of disproves my point. But Demon Hunters, fantastic. Spider-Verse, fantastic. Vivo, I really enjoyed as well when that came out. Mitchell's vs. the Machines, fantastic. So I just really like when Sony Pictures do their own thing. And now, I am not a K-pop fan at all. I like pop. I've never really got K-pop. This, I get behind though. The animation is stellar. Obviously, it's probably the biggest film of the year. Everybody was talking about it. Everybody knows Rumi, Mira, and Zoe, and Genu and all that. I've got all my friends into K-pop Demon Hunters. The animation is fantastic. The story in this is fantastic. Music is great, all of it. I haven't listened to Soda Pop, but like Free, Golden, they're all in the chart here in the UK and in the US. There isn't really much I need to say why K-pop Demon Hunters is in my top 5. Animation stellar, cast stellar, songs stellar, dance routines stellar, the in-jokes and the in-universe stuff like K-pop references for stands and things like that. Perfect. This is just somebody that understands this world, but also made it accessible for people like me that don't always get it, if that makes sense. It's just a really, really fun film with great characters, a great setup. It's got all the action in it. It's got the emotion you want to feel with Mira's like dealing with her patterns and being a demon or part demon and stuff, and how she unites with Gina, who is demon, and the sacrifice in the end and everything. It's just a really Rumi. Why did I say Mira? I meant Rumi. Sorry, my brain. You can tell it's getting late. But yeah, Rumi's like dealing with her patterns and like how she struggles with it and like the guilt that she has for it, for having them, and how she bonds with Gina and stuff. It's fantastically done. The romance is great. It's just a really good all round, well put together film with great cast. I'm just saying, repeating myself now, aren't I, at this point? The same stuff, but yeah, K-pop Demon Hunters, top 4. So, number 3, we have the latest Paul Thomas Anderson joint. One battle after another. What can I say? I think this is going to be the film that sweeps the Oscars. If it's not this, it's Hamnet. As you can kind of tell in the top right, we're getting to some of my favourites of the film. This is just a really fun film, dealing with a group of left-wing resistance fighters fighting against tyranny, essentially. The film open. This has been one of the most politically charged movies of the year. Obviously, like the first scene is them essentially breaking into an ice camp and releasing immigrants, illegal immigrants, whatever you want to call them. I stay clear of that, but breaking in and freeing the people that are detained there. Well, there, Tiana Taylor's character. Seduces Lockjaw, Stephen Lockjaw, which is why is his name escaping me? He's also been nominated. But yeah, I like that this story is essentially a father-daughter bonding thing. But yeah, Perfidia, that's her name. I can't remember her name, but like Perfidia, they're a group, the French 75, that break in and kind of deal with that. And after that happens, she essentially sells out her gang for a deal because she got arrested. The rest of the French 75 get taken out, but some of them go underground, which includes her other half, Bob Ferguson, but it's Pat. She knows him as Pat until he changes his name. She had Pat's kid, who is Chase Infinity, who's Willa, and essentially they go underground until Lockjaw decides that he's going to come back into their lives and he has to escape. And I don't have to be out, but DiCaprio normally, like, he's known for playing more serious characters. Not saying he can't play jokey ones, but he's a bit of a joke in this. Like, he's a stoner who doesn't really have that much, not confidence, but like, he just doesn't care. Cares about his daughter, and that's all he cares about. He's very goofy in this. It's not as serious as thinking. All he cares about is his daughter. His daughter is his life. And I love that. I love all the Christmas Adventurers Club and how we're parodying that type of stuff. And Hail Kris Kringle is like stuck into my head. I said it in my review. I'll get my reviews up for One Battle. So yeah, I said this is solidly in my top 5 for the year. PTA has created a masterpiece that will stand the test of time and definitely be a front runner for Best Picture. Christmas will never be the same again. There'll be some 13-year-olds. Let's be honest here, 30-year-old edgelords hailing St Nick for decades to come. Half-empty cinema in England will never laugh at anything. Seriously, the Seaman Demon bit, where Lockjaw, played by Sean Penn, says he's been reverse raped, and that's why, because he's trying to get into the Christmas Adventurers Club because it's basically a bunch of rich white racist people, and he wants to be a part of it because he's been nominated to it, but he has to essentially get rid of who he thinks is his daughter in Willa, and that's why he chases down the group and tries to wipe out French 75. But that scene at the end, the hill scene, classic cinematography, classic filmmaking. PTA is just an expert at this stuff. Like, I can't adequately describe how good he is at making films. It's a fantastic script with so many funny moments, such an interesting setup. Some great parody slash. I don't want to say parody. I'm trying to think, but like spoofing real world events, for want of a better word. Um, it's just got a really good cast, and like, yeah, it's long. Yeah, again, this one is what, like 2 hours 40, but he makes every second, every minute count. Everything in this film is memorable. All the stuff with him and Benicio, which I also talk about in here, as DiCaprio slowly morphing into Benicio del Toro. They just like brothers in this. And then, yeah, I said Sean Penn would be perfect to play Vince McMahon, because I just think the mugging he does to the screen, the shit kicking walk, all that. It's just a really well made film. It's got a bit of everything for everybody. It's got action, it's got thriller, it's got father-daughter stuff, it's got comedy. It just has, and it's based on a book as well that I've never heard of. But yeah, it looks beautiful. It's shot on film, I believe. It's VistaVision film. It's shot on VistaVision, so it looks gorgeous. It's just a really well, yet again, another really well made film that I really enjoyed. I can't wait to get this one on Blu-ray. And yeah, so last but not least, we have the top two. So for me, this was very close. A very, very close top two. I would say one is my favourite movie of the year, and one is what I think is the best movie of the year, even though that is also my favourite. So, would I much rather put the film that I enjoyed the most as number one, or would I much rather put the film that is considered probably the critical darling, the one that I really loved, gave a 10 out of 10 to as well, right? Above, it's just so tight that it's literally like 0.0001% in it. But if I had to pick one, Sinners comes in at number two. So this to me is the type of film Hollywood should be making. That one battle after another should be making, which we don't get today. Original blockbusters done by stylish filmmakers that have a vision, that get what they want to do. Number one, Coogler. Marvel's completely cocked up by not having Coogler do their Blade movie. You had him in the house and you decided not to ask him to do Blade because you want him to do Black Panther 3. Can you not do both? Just absolutely boggles my mind. But this film is just filled with respect for music, filled with soul, filled with culture, filled with I'm trying to think. It's just filled with so much soul. Coogler just he directs the hell out of this. Like, some of the shots are beautiful. The Rocky Road to Dublin scene, the Miles Caton scene with Sammy, that scene where all the for some people that pulled them out the film, when they're going back for the future of music. But then that's when I really clocked in. I was like, this is a celebration of music, specifically black music and black culture, right? Which, as you can tell, pasty white man. I don't know a lot about. But this is where film, to me, is a gateway to seeing things through a different person's eyes. It's films like this, films like One Battle After Another, that really make me understand. Now, I don't get everything out of it, but I understand. I can get into somebody else's head, somebody else's thought process, why they thought this was good. And, yeah, again, like One Battle After Another, it's a mixture of everything. It has action. It has horror. It has comedy. It has slower scenes, it has drama, and as the day that we're doing this, the Oscars, it's the highest nominated Oscar film of all time, which I genuinely never thought it would be, because it came out literally a month after last year's Oscars. And notoriously, the Oscars tend to only nominate stuff that comes out most recently. Michael B. Jordan's fantastic in this, Hayley Steinfeld's fantastic in this, Delroy Lindo, Miles Caton, Wami Masaku. everybody in this, people are like, it's just oh god, why can I not remember? George Clooney. Dust Before Dawn rip-off. It has elements of that in it, but it's not just that. This is what people don't understand. Like, it isn't just. It's just got so much culture in it. Like this, I'm going to be dissecting this film for decades to come. It is one of my favourites of the year. It has so much in it that I still need to dive deep into. I would love to make my own video on this, like where I condense my thoughts a little bit further down, rather than just talking off the dome, which is essentially what all these streams have been. It's just me talking off the top of my head. Genuinely, one of the best films of the decade. One of my favourite films of all time. And probably the critics' choice for one of the best films of the year. But as you can kind of tell by over here, number one is Superman. So just to show you how dedicated I am, I have watched this film 6 times. So I am a huge Superman fan. I wasn't when I was a kid, but because of Cavill's Superman, and because of the DCEU, and Snyder's take on Superman, I became obsessed with the character. Now, I personally believe that Snyder's take of the DC characters should not be the main line DC. It should be kind of like an Elseworlds. Not necessarily has to be a Injustice, but his own take on the characters, I don't think necessarily suits mainline DC. I think for a very long time has had the general audience and people mistaken that Superman can't be cool, can't be interesting, is a boring character, has nothing to say, he is the superhero but nobody else cares about him. Spider-Man's interesting because he's quippy and he has actual relatable issues. Batman's interesting because he's rich and he's got cool gadgets and he's got a Batmobile and he's got money and he's got Robin and the rest of the guys and things like that. Yeah? Wonder Woman's interesting because she's made out of clay and she's got in the realm of the gods and things like that. But Superman's just boring old Kal-El sent from Krypton, raised by the Kents, and that's it. And I don't think a lot of Superman media, apart from animation, has really helped that. Smallville was about him growing into Superman, but he wasn't actually Superman, right? And obviously it was a CW show. The closest we've got to a Superman that feels like Superman to me is Tyler Hoechlin's version in Superman and Lois. But yet again, this is kind of like a Superman towards the end of his career. We've never had a Superman in the pomp of his career that since Christopher Reeve. Cavill's one was about to become Superman, just like Smallville's, just like whose name escapes me, Tom Wellens. But it's never got it right. Trust one of my favourite directors, James Gunn, to just decide, you know what, I'm going to make my own Superman film. It's going to be about hope. It's going to be about justice. It's going to be about putting the man back into Superman, seeing that he's human, that he's fallible, that he has issues, that he can be relatable, that hope can shine through the darkest nights, that if we're all just a little bit kinder and nicer to each other, we could make the world a better place. Just old-fashioned, inspiring, hope-filled Superman, which is something I've needed. I have my emotional outbursts. I struggle with a lot of stuff. I had to go. I'll be honest. I had to go back to therapy this year. This was the film that got me through it. Well, counselling, not therapy, but it was the film that I was most looking forward to. And I'm not going to lie. After my first viewing, I was disappointed. And then I saw it the second time on my birthday, and I was still a bit. But this has been the film this year that has grown on me the most. The more I've dug into its themes, the more I've dug into its characters, the more I've thought about it, the more Superman media I've consumed, the more I've watched reviews of it, the more I've thingied, just looked into it, the more I can confidently say that I think this is the second best Superman movie ever made, behind the first one. It is one of the best pieces of Superman media we have ever gotten. It truly gets the characters right. Now, I'm not going to say certain jokes landed or certain things didn't, but for Christ's sake, he even saved a squirrel in this. Like, he is the beacon of hope that we needed. We have got the DCU off to the right track with this. I haven't seen Peacemaker Season 2 yet. That's something I need to get on. Supergirl I'm really hyped for now as well after seeing this. And with it being Craig Gillespie, it's a different vision from Gunn. And then Lanterns and stuff bringing up the rear as well. I'm just so excited for this DC universe of characters that have already existed. Like, I watched BTAS, I watched Justice League, I watched STAS, Batman Beyond. Like, I started with the Justice League and then worked back to BTAS and all that. So I didn't need to be introduced to these characters from their origins. I didn't need their origins. We don't need their origins. I genuinely think this has reinvigorated people's love for Superman. It got me finally accepting that this is one of the best pieces of superhero media ever made for me. I was excited. When the trailer came out, I was like, I think this might work. When Crypto's there and the fortress just comes out of the ground and everything, and the fact that he's saying golly and gosh, and it's just, for all of James Gunn's faults, and yes, it is James Gunn's humour and James Gunnerisms, and things like that, he just gets the character. He understands the character. And for a Superman movie, that's all I can ask for. You could have given me the dodgiest plot possible. I'm not even saying this plot is perfect. I'm not saying that I wish Superman had turned up in Baravia at the end instead of it being Guy and the guys, but I get why. That was Superman inspiring the Justice Gang out of their apathy to actually disobey Maxwell Lord and actually go and do what they're supposed to. The stuff with Lex is Lex Luthor in this. He's a hater. Like, this is the closest I've got to Clancy Brown's Lex Luthor from the animated show. Like, Rosenbaum's Lex is fantastic. I've never really been that big of a fan of Hackman's because his Luthor is more 70s, Silver Age and stuff like that, and mine is more modern. He was just a mad scientist kind of guy back then. Now, obviously, he's the ruthless billionaire that we expect, like the total opposite of Bruce Wayne. And he's just a hater in this. Nicholas Holt's he's had a really stellar couple of years with Juror Number 2, Nosferatu, this, The Great, some of the other stuff he's been in. I think he's fantastic. The engineer's great in this. Mr. Terrific. We've now just got a whole legion of Mr. Terrific fans. I didn't even know who Mr. Terrific was before this. I'd heard of him, but I didn't know Michael Holt that well. And since then, all I've wanted to do is read Terrific. Guy Gardner. Like, I knew Guy Gardner, obviously, and the haircut and everything. Fillion's fantastic. Isabella Merced as Hawkgirl, as Kendra. I wish it, obviously, had been Shayera, and I'm not saying we probably won't get Shayera later down the line, but still, he just introduced a group of characters into a story that I really enjoy. It has its issues, but that ending, the ending when he just comes out and he beats the hell out of Ultraman, or Bizarro, because that's what I'm just going to call him from now on, and all that, and then does the spinning and it pans across his S, and it just gets me every time when the music plays. And then there's the scene where he rescues the lady. He's holding the building up and he catches the building and she looks at him and cries, and the da-da-dun, I'm crying my eyes out. Like, genuinely, this whole film, I was in tears, and every time I watch it, it gets better and better and the flaws fade away for me. So that is why Superman is my number one film of 2025. So I'm just going to do a quick recap, bottom to top. Not many thoughts on it. 58 through 1, and then I think we shall leave it there. So let's get on with that. So 58, Love Hurts with a 5.5 out of 10 or 2.5 stars. Electric State, 6 out of 10 or 3 stars. Happy Gilmore 2, 3 stars, 6 out of 10. Back in Action, 3 stars, 6 out of 10. Snow White, 3 stars, 6 out of 10. Killer's Game, 3 stars, 6.5 out of 10. Running Man, 3.5 stars, 7 out of 10. The Amateur, 3.5 stars, 7.5 out of 10. Baby Girl, 3.5 stars, 7.5 out of 10. Into the 50s now, into the 40s, sorry. Minecraft Movie, 3.5 stars, 7.5 out of 10. Big Bold Beautiful Journey, 3.5 stars, 7.5 out of 10. Last Breath, 3.5 stars, 7.5 out of 10. A Working Man, 7.5, 3.5 stars, 7.5 out of 10. Karate Kid in at 45, 3.5 stars, 7.5 out of 10. Then Jurassic World Rebirth, same again, 3.5 stars, 7.5 out of 10. Drop, 3.5 stars, 7.5 out of 10. The latest in the Now You See Me franchise, Now You See Me, Now You Don't. Same again, 3.5 stars, 7.5 out of 10. Now moving into the 4 stars, we have Lilo and Stitch, 2025 live action at 4 stars, 8 out of 10. We have the latest Pixar movie, Elio, 4 stars, 8 out of 10. The sequel to one of 2024's best films, Wicked, in Wicked for Good, 4 stars, 8 out of 10. A24 Jurassic Park rip-off, for want of a better word, mixed with class culture themes and class themes and stuff like that. 4 stars, 8 out of 10. Zootopia 2, the sequel to the original Zootopia, or as we call it over here, Zootropolis. 4 stars, 8 out of 10. The spin-off from the John Wick franchise, featuring Eve Macaro, or the ballerina, from the Roscaroma, gets 4 stars, 8 out of 10. The latest in the Tron franchise, that just seems to be filled with flops, 4 stars, 8 out of 10. In at number 34, a great modern comedy with SZA and Keke Palmer, reminiscent of Friday, and Another Hood and things like that I've watched. 4 stars, 8 out of 10. The first MCU movie we got this year, and the continuation of Sam's journey from Falcon / Captain America and Winter Soldier. 4 stars, 8 out of 10. One of the truest comedies of the year, and one of the best legacy sequels we've had in a little while, apart from Maverick, obviously. Naked Gun, 4 stars, 8 out of 10. One of the many Stephen King adaptations we've had this year, The Life of Chuck, 4 stars, 8 out of 10. Nobody 2, the sequel to Bob Odenkirk's CIA beat 'em up, 4 stars, 8.5 out of 10. Sisu, one man on his mission to kill Russians this time instead of Nazis, gets 4 stars, 8.5 out of 10. Mission Impossible, The Final Reckoning, bit of a disappointment. Supposedly the final Mission Impossible. We highly doubt that, don't we? 4 stars, 8.5 out of 10. In at number 27, The Bad Guys 2, sequel to one of my favourite animated movies of the 2020s. 4 stars, 8.5 out of 10. Sorry Baby, a drama, or kind of comedy by director Eva Victor that I really enjoyed, but I do need to watch again, and I didn't really speak that much on it in the last one. 4 stars, 8.5 out of 10. Now we come in at number 25, Quarter of a Century. British drama, out of order, edited out of order. Love story between Florence Pugh and Andrew Garfield. 4 stars, 8.5 out of 10. Real Pain, one of last year's big Oscar contenders that won Kieran Culkin his Oscar. Best Supporting Actor. 4 stars, 8.5 out of 10. The sequel to one of my favourite action films of the 2010s, and one of Ben Affleck's best performances. Obviously talking about The Accountant one. We got the more fun version of The Accountant in The Accountant 2. 4 stars, 8.5 out of The chaotic making of Saturday Night Live, ranked highly by a guy that's never seen an episode of it. 4.5 stars, 9 out of 10. Next up, one of the best action films, straight up action films of the year, with a pretty good gimmick about a guy that can't feel any pain. We have Novocaine. 4.5 stars, 4.5 stars, 9 out of 10. Into the top 20 now, we have Tim Robinson's very strange comedy about falling in love with your best friend, aka your friend that you've only met like a day ago, and being obsessed with him, and weird hijinks ensue. 4.5 stars, 9 out of 10. 19, we have the first of the 2 Predator movies that were released this year. Predator Killer Killers, the animated anthology that I really loved. 4.5 stars, 9 out of 10. Next up, Nuremberg. The telling of the story of the real life Nuremberg trials, starring Russell Crowe as Hermann Goering, and basically the story of Goering, essentially his final days. Pretty underrated box office smash this year. 4.5 stars, 9 out of 10. Probably the best Stephen King adaptation out of Welcome to Derry, because I haven't seen it. The Long Walk. David Johnson and Cooper Hoffman are bros for life. 4.5 stars, 9 out of 10. Frankenstein. Guillermo del Toro's go at Mary Shelley's classic. That seems perfectly suited to him. 4.5 stars, 9 out of 10. Into the top 15 we go, and we have Alex Garland and Ray Mendoza's Day in the Life of a Navy SEAL Platoon. Sound extravaganza in warfare. 4.5 stars, 9 out of 10. Robert Eggers's latest horror. Pair this up with Frankenstein, and we got a real horror odd couple in Nosferatu. Great performances in this, and Robert Eggers's signature style, Gothic style. 4.5 stars, 9 out of 10. Now we're into the 9.5s. How to Train Dragon live action remake. People are going to hate me for this one, as I said earlier. But it's a essential beat for beat remake of the classic, which for some people was creatively bankrupt, but for me, it's the same film, so I really enjoyed it. 4.5 stars, 9.5 out of 10. Number 12, another 9.5 out of 10. Steven Soderbergh's Spy, British spy thriller, starring some of the best British talent around, and Irish talent and Australian talent in Cate Blanchett and Michael Fassbender and a bunch of other people that you recognise. One of the best dinner table scenes probably all year. 4.5 stars, 9.5 out of 10. Predator Badlands, the best sci-fi action movie of the year. Blending 1 parts Predator world builder, 1 part guy tries to adapt to his surroundings that you've seen a million times, brings back Predator in a big way, is a movie that should reach all demographics, brutal, bloody, but also PG-13 somehow. Great casting, nice to see a Predator as the lead for a change. Really good story. 4.5 stars, 9.5 out of 10. Just missing out on the top 10. In at 10, we have Rian Johnson's latest entry into his Knives Out franchise. Slightly better than Glass Onion for me, but still does not touch the original. Got some good stuff with Benoit Blanc, and Josh O'Connor was a pretty good lead. That's Wake Up Dead Man. 4.5 stars, 9.5 out of 10. In at number 9, Kaczynski's latest old school classic blockbuster, starring Brad Pitt and an F1 pit crew that looks nothing like an F1 pit crew. In at number 9, just got nominated for a couple of Oscars as well, and up for best picture. 4.5 stars, 9.5 out of 10. In at number 8, we have one of the better entries from Marvel this year, and in recent years, Thunderbolts ***. Marvel's version of the Suicide Squad, but actually done properly and with some characters that you actually like, and a good exploration of mental health and depression. 4.5 stars, 9.5 out of 10. And at number 7, yeah, it's a by the numbers biopic that you've seen many a time, but it's James Mangold doing what he does best, setting the scene, making us feel like we're in the 60s, making us get to know a character or a person that we may not have known before, has the interesting dichotomy of self-exploration between gatekeeping and things like that, and should an artist evolve and how they can change the sound and things like that, whilst also being an exploration of Dylan as a person. 4.5 stars, 9.5 out of 10. In at number 6, we have the latest entry into Cameron's Avatar franchise, Fire and Ash. Very good start, very good second act. Basically copies the third act of the original. Need to see it again, but really enjoyed the Manquan stuff and Quaritch's storyline. Really enjoyed Neytiri's side and the stuff with Loak and Kiri and the rest of the kids. 5 stars, 10 out of 10. Entering the top 5, we have the Fantastic Four, First Steps. Marvel's adventure into the sci-fi cosmic, brings in Galactus, Silver Surfer, brings Marvel's first family to the big screen in the correct way, nails the retrofuturism that it's going for. Cannot wait to see Doom in Doomsday. 5 stars, 10 out of 10. In at number 4, K-pop Virgin tries K-pop Demon Hunters for the first time, falls in love with Rumi, Mira and Zoe, and demons and the like. Good animation, Sony Pictures animation. Just keep doing what you're doing. You bang it. 5 stars, 10 out of 10. In number 3, the newest film from Paul Thomas Anderson. Great exploration of a father and daughter kind of storyline and relationship and building their relationship, mixed in with some funny as shit stuff from Sean Penn, whatever he's mugging at the screen. Some parodying of modern day right wingers, which bit fun, and just a really overall epic comedy with some good moments. At number 2, Ryan Coogler's period piece about vampires in the deep south, hunting down a bunch of guys from a juke joint. An exploration of culture, of music, what music means to culture, themes of racism and things like that. Absolute banging film, highest nominated ever film at an Oscars ceremony or for the Academy Awards. 5 stars, 10 out of 10. And in at number 1 is James Gunn's Superman. The best take on Superman in almost 50 years. Absolutely nails the character, sets up the DCU in the right way, gets everything right that it needs to. Great villain, interesting lore. Love that it's set in an already existing DC universe, and cannot wait for more from James Gunn's DCU. 10 out of 10. So yeah, folks, so thanks for sticking around with me. I am absolutely shattered now, as you can kind of tell. I really enjoyed doing these streams. As I say, I'm hoping to start getting some more videos out. I want to start prepping a little bit more for these streams and getting a couple of graphics set up so it looks a bit more professional. This was just to essentially like get me into the habit of making stuff again. As I said, I will probably, I don't know when, maybe next week, do a more condensed version of this. Once I've had like a quick recap of some of the films and whatever, I might do like a describe in 5 words kind of thing. Yeah, hope you all enjoyed. Thanks for coming along, those of you that did. I don't know how many of you did, but thank you anyway. Enjoy your morning / evening, because it is now like 1:45. I've been streaming for like 3 hours. But yeah, thanks again, guys. Thanks for listening to me ramble for 3 hours. I really enjoyed it, although my voice is not thanking me right now. Have a wonderful day tomorrow.